The suitcase was warm when I pulled it out from behind my son's furnace. Not hot exactly, but warm enough that I jerked my hand back and stared at my palm. The blue fabric had a brown scorch mark along one corner. Evan's luggage tag was still looped around the handle, his name printed in the blocky capitals he'd used since high school. Upstairs, his wife had told me he was in Chicago. I unzipped the case, jeans, work shirts, shaving cream, the ugly green sweater Evan wore whenever he got sick, though he denied having a sick sweater. His old baseball glove lay against one side, wrapped around the dented recipe tin that had belonged to my mother. Beneath that was a framed photograph of Evan with his sister Claire. At the bottom, I found the spare key to my house. I was still holding it when the basement door opened. "What are you doing?" Marissa stood at the top of the stairs, one hand gripping the knob. She had changed since I arrived. 10 minutes earlier, she'd been wearing gray leggings and one of Evan's college sweatshirts. Now she had on jeans and a white blouse, as if she'd gotten dressed to catch me. "I found this behind the furnace," I said. "I can see that." "Why is Evan's suitcase behind the furnace?" Her eyes dropped to the open case. They moved quickly over the contents before returning to me. "That's an old donation bag." I looked at the razor in my hand. Marissa folded her arms. "He went through his closet a few weeks ago. I told him I'd take everything to Goodwill, and I forgot. With my mother's recipe tin, he probably didn't realize it was in there. And his shaving cream? It's half empty, Cal." She said it like that settled something. Behind me, the furnace came on with a low metallic thump. A second later, the blower started rattling, which was why she had called me. The whole basement smelled faintly of dust and overheated cloth. I set the razor back inside. "You said Evan packed for Chicago last night." "He did." "What did he pack it in?" Marissa's mouth tightened. I did not raise my voice. I had spent 41 years repairing machines and 38 years raising 2 children. In my experience, getting louder rarely made anything work better. That had not stopped people from mistaking quiet for surrender. "He has another suitcase," she said. "The black one with the broken wheel. We replaced it." "When?" She came down 3 steps, then stopped. "Why are you interrogating me? I'm asking about my son. And I'm his wife." I waited. Marissa gave a short laugh, but there was no amusement in it. "This is unbelievable. You come into my house, open something that doesn't belong to you, and now I'm the one on trial? I came because you smelled something burning, and you found it. Congratulations." She came the rest of the way down and pushed past me. Marissa was a small woman, but she had a way of moving through a room that made everybody else feel misplaced. She closed the suitcase hard enough to catch the sleeve of the green sweater in the zipper. "Careful," I said. "It's a sweater. It's caught." She tugged the zipper, the knit stretched. I reached for it, and she slapped my hand away. Not hard, just quick. We both looked at her fingers, where they had touched me. Then she crouched and worked the sleeve free with precise little movements. "Evan said, 'You could fix the furnace,'" she said. "Can you fix it or not?" The question was so ordinary that for a moment I almost answered it. I looked around the basement. Evan and I had finished the walls 6 years earlier, back when he and Marissa bought the house. We'd spent 3 weekends arguing about where to put the shelves and one entire Sunday looking for a level that had been in my back pocket. There was still a pencil mark beside the electrical panel where Evan had written, "Cal was wrong," after I mismeasured a stud. I had added, "once." The suitcase could not have been behind the furnace for weeks. Dust had gathered everywhere except beneath it. One drag mark crossed the concrete floor from the storage shelves to the narrow gap where I'd found it. "Call him," I said. Marissa stood up slowly. "Excuse me? Call Evan. He's in meetings. He'll see it's you." "What exactly do you think is happening here?" "I don't know." That was the truth, and she seemed to hate it more than an accusation. "He's in Chicago for a regional planning meeting," she said. "He left yesterday afternoon. He'll be back Friday. If you need his itinerary, hotel room number, and a note from his employer, I'm afraid you'll have to wait until he's finished pretending to be an adult." "Why would I think he's pretending?" "Because you always do." I stared at her. She lifted the suitcase by the handle. It was heavy enough that her shoulder dipped. "You hover," she said. "You drop by. You call him about rain like he can't look out a window. Every time something goes wrong, there you are with your toolbox and that expression." "What expression?" "That one." "I only have the one face, Marissa." Usually she laughed when I said something like that. This time she didn't. She carried the suitcase toward the stairs. The scorched corner bumped each step as she climbed. "Where are you taking it?" I asked. "Out of the basement. The furnace still needs looking at. I'll call somebody." "You already called somebody." She stopped without turning. "Please leave." There were several things I could have said. I could have reminded her that I had replaced the water heater in that basement. I could have told her she had no right to speak to me that way. I could have taken the suitcase out of her hand and called Evan myself. Instead, I picked up my toolbox. Marissa waited at the top of the stairs. When I reached her, she stepped aside just enough to let me pass. The suitcase stood behind her in the kitchen, upright beside the pantry. Its zipper was still open an inch. The cat, Lester, was sniffing the corner. "Did Evan ask you to feed him?" I asked. "What?" "The cat. I know what you meant. Evan usually calls me before he travels. He didn't need you this time." I nodded as if she had told me the weather. At the front door, I set down my toolbox and took out my phone. Marissa watched from the kitchen. I called Evan. It rang once, then went to voicemail. "Hey, it's Dad," I said after the beep. "Give me a call when you get a minute." Marissa leaned against the counter. I slipped the phone back into my pocket. "What hotel is he at? I'm not doing this with you." "All right." That answer surprised her. I saw it in the slight lift of her chin. I picked up the toolbox and left. Outside, the day had turned colder. The sky was the flat white color it got before snow, though the forecast had said we wouldn't get any. Evan's truck was not in the driveway. Marissa's little red SUV sat near the garage with dried mud sprayed along the doors. I looked up at the bedroom window and felt foolish for doing it. Then I went home. My house had been too large since the divorce and too quiet since retirement. I used to complain about both things. Lately I had stopped, mostly because there was nobody there to hear me. I put my toolbox on the dining table, which my daughter would have criticized if she were speaking to me. Claire believed tools belonged in the garage and food belonged on the table. This conviction had not prevented her from eating most of her meals over the sink when she lived with me. I called Evan again. Voicemail. I checked the time in Chicago, then remembered Chicago was in the same time zone. "Excellent work, Cal," I told the empty room. I made coffee and carried it to the window overlooking the backyard. My neighbor Gus was dragging a plastic lawn chair into his shed. He saw me and raised both hands as if I had caught him stealing it. "Winter's coming," he shouted through the glass. "It comes every year," I shouted back. He considered this, then dragged the chair faster. I tried to picture Evan in a hotel conference room. He worked for a company that distributed restaurant supplies, which meant his business trips involved long discussions about freezer gaskets and disposable lids. He always complained that regional meetings took place in windowless rooms where the coffee tasted like the inside of a thermos. He usually called me from the airport, sometimes only for 5 minutes, sometimes for half an hour if his flight was delayed. He would tell me about the man at security who tried to carry 3 jars of salsa through the checkpoint, or the woman who conducted a speakerphone argument beside the gate. He had not mentioned Chicago. That did not mean anything by itself. Adult sons did not report every movement to their fathers. Marissa was right about that, at least. I took out my phone and opened our last text exchange. 2 days earlier, I had sent Evan a photograph of a mouse nest I found inside my lawnmower. "You running a wildlife sanctuary now?" he had written. "Looks that way. Charge rent." That was it. I almost texted him about the suitcase. Instead, I wrote, "Your furnace is rattling. Call me when you can." The response came less than a minute later. "Meetings all day, Dad. Talk soon." I read it twice. Evan never called me Dad in a text, not once that I could remember. He called me Pop when he was being warm, Calvin when he was being irritating, and Old Man when he wanted something. He also did not put periods at the ends of text messages. Claire did. She texted like an attorney preparing evidence. Evan treated punctuation as an optional decoration. I typed, "How's Chicago?" 3 dots appeared, they vanished, then appeared again. Cold? Busy? I looked out at my backyard. The dead tomato plants were still tied to their stakes because I had been putting off pulling them. "What hotel are you in?" I wrote. No answer came. I called, straight to voicemail. This time I did not leave a message. I went to the hall closet and took down my coat. For a moment I stood there with one arm in the sleeve, wondering where exactly I thought I was going. The sensible thing was to wait. Evan would call, Marissa would cool down. The suitcase would have some explanation that sounded less ridiculous tomorrow than it did today. I knew a great deal about waiting for people to become reasonable. My former wife, Diane, used to say I could stand in a burning room and compliment the wallpaper. Claire had inherited Diane's talent for making criticism memorable. Evan had inherited my habit of laughing when he ought to be angry. I put on the coat. On the way to the garage, I passed the small ceramic bowl where I kept my spare keys. The brass hook Evan's key belonged on was empty. I had given it to him after the divorce, when he was 26 and pretending not to worry about me living alone. Emergency use only, I'd told him. Define emergency. If I don't answer the phone for 3 days, what if I need to borrow your drill? That's theft. He had kept that key for 13 years. And sometime recently, he had packed it in a suitcase with everything he could not bear to leave behind, then hidden the suitcase behind his own furnace. I drove back toward his neighborhood, but I did not turn onto his street. Marissa already knew I was suspicious. If Evan was in trouble, confronting her again would only teach her which questions I was asking. At the next light, I turned toward the industrial park where Evan worked. I told myself I was being ridiculous right up until I pulled into the parking lot and saw that his usual space was empty. There were 30 or 40 vehicles in the lot, most of them backed into their spaces with the seriousness of people who had attended a seminar on parking. Evan's spot was near the side entrance. His name wasn't painted on it, but he had parked there for 9 years because the security light worked, and a maple tree shaded the windshield in summer. I sat in my car long enough for a woman carrying a salad to glance at me twice. Then I opened my trunk. A month earlier, Evan had loaned me a ratcheting pipe cutter. I'd asked to borrow it for one afternoon, and had since forgotten it existed. It was still in the plastic shopping bag he'd handed me, along with the receipt for a bottle of orange juice and a package of powdered donuts. I took the cutter inside. The receptionist was a broad-shouldered woman named Patricia, who had worked there almost as long as Evan. We had met at holiday parties back when the company still held them somewhere nicer than its own warehouse. "Mr. Mercer," she said, "you're not here to fix the ice machine again, are you?" "That depends. Is it broken?" "It's always broken. I think it resents us. I'm returning something to Evan." Her smile changed so slightly I might have missed it if I hadn't spent the past hour watching people's faces. I held up the bag. "Is he expecting you?" she asked. "No." Patricia looked at the computer screen, although nothing had happened on it. "You can leave that with me. I don't mind taking it back." "He's not here." "Chicago?" She looked at me. I looked at her. There are conversations where both people realize at the same moment that one of them has been given a different story. "Was he supposed to be in Chicago?" she asked. "That's what I heard." Patricia lowered her voice. "Maybe you should talk to him." "I've been trying. I'm sure he'll call you." "When was he last here?" She glanced toward the hallway behind her. A young man came through the front doors carrying 2 cardboard drink trays. Patricia waited until he passed. "Mr. Mercer, I really can't discuss an employee's schedule." "Of course not. I could get in trouble. I wouldn't want that." "He's a good man." "Yes, he's been under a lot of strain." My hand tightened around the plastic bag. "How long has he been gone?" Patricia exhaled through her nose. "Since Thursday. It was Monday. Was he sick? I don't know. Did he call?" "You'd have to ask his supervisor. Then I'll ask his supervisor." She gave me a look my mother used to give people in church when they volunteered for something foolish. "Sit down," she said. "I'll see if Rick is available." The waiting area had 3 black chairs, a ficus tree made of plastic, and a framed poster of a smiling chef standing beside a commercial refrigerator. The chef looked much too pleased with the refrigerator. I sat with the pipe cutter on my knees. A door opened down the hall, and Patricia waved me over. "He has 5 minutes. Rick Mallory was younger than Evan by maybe 10 years, and dressed as if he expected to be photographed at any moment. His office walls were covered with motivational slogans in matching black frames. One said, "A goal without a plan is just a wish." Another said, "Teamwork divides the task and multiplies the success." The warehouse beyond his window seemed to be succeeding without much enthusiasm. "Cal," he said, shaking my hand. "Good to see you." "You too. Have a seat." I sat. He looked at the bag. "What's that?" "Pipe cutter." "Okay, I'm returning it to Evan." "Sure." "Patricia says he's not here." Rick rubbed his palms over his trousers. "Evan took some personal time." "For Chicago?" "You'd have to ask him." I did. He didn't answer. Rick leaned back. "Look, I like Evan. Everybody likes Evan. He's one of my best account managers, and when he tells me he needs a few days, I don't make him give me his diary. That's decent of you. We try to be flexible. What did he tell you? I just said, I'm not asking you to break a confidence. I'm asking if my son walked in here Thursday morning looking like himself. Rick's eyes moved toward the framed slogans. He seemed to be searching them for instructions. He didn't walk in, he said finally. He called. Did you speak to him? Yes. Did he sound all right? He sounded upset. What kind of upset? The kind where I told him to take as much time as he needed. My phone buzzed in my coat pocket. For one hopeful second, I thought it was Evan. It was Marissa. Are you at Evan's office? I showed the screen to Rick before I could reconsider it. He read the message and looked away. Did you call her? I asked. No. Patricia? I didn't see her use the phone. Marissa texted again. This needs to stop. My impulse was to defend myself. It was an old reflex, polished smooth from years of marriage. Explain where you were, why you went, what you meant, and how little trouble you intended to cause. I put the phone away unanswered. Did Evan mention Chicago? I asked. No. Did he say where he was going? No. Did he ask you not to tell Marissa anything? Rick's jaw shifted. That was enough of an answer. I stood and picked up the bag. Tell him the quarterly projections can wait, Rick said. If you talk to him, I'll tell him. And Cal? I turned. Rick glanced toward the glass wall. Thursday wasn't the first time he'd called from his truck. I waited, but Rick had reached the limit of what he was willing to say. He sat down and touched his computer mouse, waking a screen full of little colored boxes. On my way out, Patricia pretended to organize a stack of visitor badges. Thank you, I said. I didn't tell you anything. No. She looked up. If you find him, tell him I'm keeping his desk plant alive. I didn't know he had a desk plant. He doesn't. I'm trying to make it sound like we need him. Tell him the ice machine misses him. That thing doesn't miss anybody. Outside, I walked to Evan's empty parking space and stood on the faded white line. There was an oil stain near the curb and a flattened paper cup under the maple tree. Marissa called. I let it ring 6 times before answering. Where are you? She said. Hello to you too. Are you at his office? I was. Why? I had something to return. Don't lie to me. The words came out sharp enough that I held the phone away from my ear. I'm not lying. You drove across town with a tool because Evan didn't return one phone call? He hasn't been at work since Thursday. Silence. A truck moved along the road beyond the parking lot, its brakes squealing as it turned. I know, she said. Then why did you tell me he left for Chicago yesterday? Because that's where he told me he was going. His supervisor didn't know anything about it. His supervisor doesn't know everything. Where is Evan? He's in Chicago. What hotel? I don't know. What meeting? I told you. Regional planning. What hotel, Marissa? I don't know, Cal. Her voice cracked on my name. Anger was still there, but something had opened beneath it. I stopped pacing. You don't know where he is, I said. He texted me. When? Yesterday. What did he say? That he arrived. Did you speak to him? He was busy. Did you hear his voice? He texted me. Okay. People text. This isn't 1985. He texted me, too. Another silence. What did he say to you? She asked. Meetings all day. That proves he's there. No, it proves someone with his phone knows the story you gave me. She made a small sound, not a gasp, more like she had bitten the inside of her cheek. You think I have his phone? I didn't say that. That's exactly what you're saying. I'm asking where my son is, and I'm telling you, no, you're repeating Chicago. A car pulled into the lot and passed me. The driver stared before parking 3 rows away. Marissa lowered her voice. He left, Cal. For Chicago? He left the house. When? Thursday night. The pipe cutter felt absurdly heavy in my hand. Why? We had a fight. What kind of fight? A married fight. That doesn't answer me. It's none of your business. You made it my business when you called me into your basement with his suitcase hidden behind the furnace. I didn't know it was there. Where did he go? If I knew that, do you think I'd be having this conversation? I sat on the hood of my car because my knees had begun to feel unreliable. Why did you say he was away on business? Because he is. He came back Friday morning, took his truck, and said he had to go to Chicago. You said he left yesterday afternoon. I got the days confused. You thought today was Friday? Stop doing that. Doing what? Talking like you're the only calm person in the room. You think if you keep your voice low enough, everybody else sounds crazy. I watched my breath fog in the air. Did you see him leave Friday? I asked. Yes. In his truck? Yes. With what suitcase? She didn't answer. Marissa. He had a duffel bag. Which one? Oh my God. Was he hurt? What? When he left. Was he hurt? Of course not. The answer came too fast. I closed my eyes. Come home, she said. I am not at home. You know what I mean. Come back here and let me explain. You ordered me out 20 minutes ago. I was upset. You hit my hand. I moved your hand. Is that how you and Evan talk about things afterward? Her breathing changed. The question hung between us, uglier than anything I could have accused her of directly. You have always disliked me, she said. That isn't true. You've been waiting for this. For what? For our marriage to have a bad moment so you could take him back. He's not a couch, Marissa. You need him to need you. There was enough truth in it to sting. I looked through the front windows of Evan's office. Patricia sat behind her desk, typing. She did not look up, though I had the feeling she knew I was still there. Who knows where he might go? I asked. You're his father. That wasn't my question. I don't know. What about Brian? Marissa stopped breathing for a second. Brian Holt had been Evan's closest friend since they met unloading trucks during a summer job in their 20s. He owned a small flooring warehouse on the south side and had once toasted Evan at his wedding by saying they had survived minimum wage, bad hair, and a canoe trip neither would discuss in mixed company. Evan and Brian did not see each other often anymore. Marissa called him exhausting. Brian called Marissa the weather because, he said, everybody checked her mood before making plans. I haven't talked to Brian, she said. Did Evan? I said, I don't know. Goodbye, Marissa. If you go dragging other people into this, I ended the call. Brian answered on the 5th ring. Holt Flooring. It's Cal. A forklift beeped in the background. Cal? Who? You only know one. I know 3. One sells carpet padding. One owes me $40. The handsome one. That narrows it to none. His joking sounded forced. Brian knew my number. I'm looking for Evan, I said. The forklift continued beeping, then stopped. Haven't seen him, Brian said. I didn't ask if you'd seen him. You said you were looking for him. He hasn't been at work since Thursday. Marissa told me he was in Chicago. Maybe he is. He packed my house key and his grandmother's recipe tin in a suitcase and hid it behind his furnace. Brian said nothing. Was he with you? Cal, I've got a delivery coming in. Was my son with you? A man shouted something near him. Brian covered the phone and shouted back. When he returned, his voice was quieter. You need to talk to Evan. I would love to. He'll call when he's ready. Where is he? I can't tell you that. The cold seemed to move through my coat all at once. You know, I know he doesn't want to be found right now. Is he safe? Another pause. He was when he left here. I gripped the edge of the hood. Left where? Brian exhaled. My warehouse, he said. He slept in his truck behind it Thursday night. And, Cal, before you ask why nobody called you, Evan made me promise I wouldn't. Why? I asked. Brian did not pretend to misunderstand. That's between you and him. He was sleeping in a parking lot, behind a locked gate. That's not the reassuring detail that you think it is. Look, I gave him my office. He wouldn't use it. Why not? Because he didn't want to be inside. I slid off the hood of my car. I'm coming over. Cal, no. I have a pipe cutter in my hand and nowhere else to be. I'm serious. So am I. He swore softly. Give me half an hour. I have a truck unloading. I'll drive slowly. Holt Flooring occupied a low brick building between an auto glass shop and a company that rented portable toilets. Samples filled the front showroom: gray oak, brown oak, pale oak, and what appeared to be several other expensive ways of saying brown. Brian came through the warehouse door as I entered. He was 52, built like a refrigerator, and wearing a blue knit cap indoors. A pencil rested over one ear. You look terrible, he said. Good to see you, too. I mean it. You're gray. I've always been gray. Grayer. A couple sat at a display table comparing floor samples with the grave attention of surgeons choosing an organ. Brian jerked his head toward the warehouse. Come on! Forklifts had carved black arcs into the concrete. Rolls of carpet stood upright along one wall, and stacks of boxed flooring rose high enough to make the aisles feel like canyons. Brian led me through a metal door into an office that smelled of coffee and adhesive. There was a couch under the window. A folded blanket and pillow sat on one end. "That where he slept?" I asked. "I told you he stayed in his truck." "Then who's the blanket for?" "Me, occasionally." Divorce made me discover office furniture. Brian took off his cap and tossed it on the desk. His hair stood up in the shape of it. "Sit down. I'm fine. You look like you're about to dismantle something. I brought the right tool." He looked at the shopping bag in my hand. "Is that mine?" "No." "Then sit." I sat on the couch. Brian took the desk chair and turned it backward, straddling it like a guidance counselor in a bad television show. "What happened Thursday?" I asked. "I don't know what happened at the house. Evan called around 10, asked if the gate code was still the same. And you let him sleep outside? I drove over, tried to get him to come inside. He said he wanted to stay near his truck." "Why?" "He wanted to be able to leave." The office heater clicked on. Somewhere beyond the wall, a pallet hit the floor with a heavy wooden crack. "Was he hurt?" Brian rubbed the pencil between his fingers. His lip was split. My tongue pressed against the back of my teeth. "He said a cabinet door caught him," Brian added. "He doesn't believe in closing cabinet doors." "That's what I said." "What else?" "He was agitated." "Evan doesn't get agitated. Everybody gets agitated. Not where people can see." Brian looked down at the chair back. His hands were shaking. He kept losing track of what he was saying. Then he'd apologize for wasting my time. "That sounds like him." "Yeah, it does." "Did he tell you what Marissa did?" "He said they had a fight. About the suitcase." "I didn't know about any suitcase." "What did he say the fight was about?" "Everything. Nothing. You know how people talk when they're trying not to say the thing." "I did." Brian leaned back. The chair squeaked beneath him. "He wanted coffee," he said. Then he didn't want coffee. He asked if I had anything to eat, so I brought him a sandwich. He took 2 bites and wrapped it back up. Around midnight I got him to take the blanket, but he wouldn't come into the office. "Did you stay?" "Until 2. He told me to go home." "And you did?" "I came back at 6. The question had sounded accusing. I heard it too late. Brian's face hardened. "I did what I thought I could do without making him bolt." "If you came here to grade me, you can find the door yourself." "I'm not grading you. You're angry." "I am." "Then be angry at the correct person. I don't know who that is yet." "Start with yourself." The room went very quiet. Brian set the pencil on the desk. His hand missed the edge and it fell to the floor. Neither of us picked it up. "What did he say about me?" I asked. Brian stood and walked to the little coffee maker beside the file cabinet. The pot held an inch of liquid that looked thick enough to paint with. "You want some?" "No." He poured it anyway, drank and grimaced as if surprised. "Brian." "He asked me not to call you. I know that." "He said you'd tell him to go home and work it out." The sentence did not hurt all at once. It entered slowly, like cold through a bad window. "I wouldn't have," I said. Brian looked at me over the mug. I thought of Evan at my kitchen table months earlier, pressing a dish towel to his mouth. Marissa had thrown a mug. That was how he phrased it. Not at him, just thrown it. The distinction had seemed important because he needed it to. I had made coffee. I had told him one terrible night did not have to define a marriage. The next morning, I had driven him home. "I did," I said. Brian's expression softened, which made it worse. "He told you about the mug?" I looked up. "He told you?" "He called me afterward." "Why?" "Maybe because you took him back." "I didn't take him anywhere. He didn't ask to go." "Okay, he wanted to go home." "Okay." "Stop saying it like that." "Like what?" "Like, I'm asking you to believe me." Brian set the mug down. "Cal, I'm not saying you caused this. I'm saying Evan thinks you'll always choose the version of peace that lets everybody stay in the same room. That sounds like Claire." Maybe Claire was right. He said her name carefully, like he expected me to object. Instead, I stared at the floor. The vinyl planks in the office were laid on a diagonal. I had always disliked diagonal flooring. It made a room look as if it were trying to move. "What happened Friday?" I asked. Brian returned to his chair but did not sit. Marissa showed up around 11. How did she know he was here? She guessed. Or he told her. "I don't know." "What did she say?" "She asked me to give them privacy." "And you did?" I stood 20 feet away and pretended to count laminate. Did she touch him? Not while I was watching? What does that mean? It means she stood close. She cried. He stared at the ground. She kept saying they should go home and talk in private. And he went. He told me it was his decision. Was it? Cal, I don't know how to answer that. You watched him get into her car. Yes. And you let him. Brian's eyes narrowed. What should I have done? Locked him in my office? He's 40 years old. 39. That changes everything. I stood too quickly and bumped the low table beside the couch. A stack of catalogs slid to the floor. Brian bent to gather them. He came back around 4. Here? Marissa dropped him off. He got in his truck. Was she with him? She waited in her SUV until he drove away. Did you talk to him? I tried. He rolled down his window and told me he was all right. Was his lip worse? No. Anything else? He was holding his side. My breath stopped. He said he pulled something, Brian added. I asked if he wanted me to follow him. He said no. He said he needed a few days, and he made me promise again not to call you. Did he say where he was going? No. Did you hear from him after that? Saturday morning. One text. Brian took out his phone, scrolled, and handed it to me. The message read, safe, need quiet. Don't give anyone a location because I haven't picked one yet. I read it again. Did you answer? Brian scrolled down. Take whatever time you need. Doors open. Evan had responded with a thumbs up. Is that all? I asked. That's all. I handed back the phone. Brian watched me move toward the door. Where are you going? I don't know yet. Don't go back to Marissa's alone. I'm not afraid of Marissa. That's not what I said. At the showroom entrance, the couple was still debating samples. The man held up 2 nearly identical brown planks. This one has more character, he said. They're the same, the woman said. They're not. They have different names. Brian touched my arm before I went outside. Cal, I turned. If you find him, don't make the first thing out of your mouth a solution. I know how to talk to my son. Do you? I left before I answered. In my car, I put the pipe cutter on the passenger seat and called Evan again. Voicemail. I did not leave another message. My hand stayed on the steering wheel while the heater blew cold air at my shoes. Evan had gone home with Marissa. Later, he had returned for his truck, holding his side. He had packed my key, my mother's tin, and a photograph of Claire. The photograph mattered. Claire and Evan had not spoken in nearly 2 years, as far as I knew. Their last argument had begun at our dining table and ended with Claire telling all 3 of us that she was tired of being punished for saying aloud what everybody else worked so hard not to notice. I had asked her to leave. Evan had not stopped me. Still, he had packed her photograph. I found Claire's number and pressed call. She answered on the 4th ring, but said nothing. Claire, I'm here. Her voice sounded flat and guarded. Hearing it after so long made me grip the phone harder. I need to ask you something. If this is about Thanksgiving, I already told Aunt Susan I'm not coming. It's not about Thanksgiving. Silence. Have you talked to Evan? I asked. Why? Because I can't find him. Another silence, different from the first. He's an adult, she said. I'm aware. Then maybe he doesn't want to be found. His wife lied about where he is. He hasn't been at work. He slept in his truck Thursday night, and when Brian saw him Friday, he was holding his side. Claire inhaled slowly. Did Marissa call you? She asked. No. Does she know you're calling me? No. Where are you? Outside Brian's warehouse. I'm not discussing this on the phone. My heart struck once, hard. I can be at your apartment in 20 minutes. Make it 30. She hung up. Claire lived on the 2nd floor of a converted brick house near the river. I reached it in 23 minutes and spent the remaining 7 sitting in my car because she had always been exact about boundaries, even when she was 8. At precisely 30 minutes, I climbed the stairs. Claire opened the door before I knocked. Her dark hair was shorter than the last time I'd seen her. She wore black slacks, thick socks, and a faded t-shirt from a concert I remembered refusing to let her attend when she was 17. Her face looked older. So did mine, probably. You came alone? She asked. Yes. Phone on silent. I took it out and silenced it. Marissa can't know. Know what? Claire stepped aside. The apartment was dim except for a lamp near the window. A pair of men's boots stood beside the couch. Evan's boots. He lay under a gray blanket with one hand curled near his face. asleep so deeply that the opening door had not moved him. Claire closed it behind me. "If you tell her where he is," she said, "you'll never see either of us again." I looked at my daughter. "I won't tell her." That was fast. "You wanted me to argue? I expected you to explain why telling her would be the mature thing. I'm learning to disappoint people." Claire's mouth moved, almost a smile, and then not. She pointed toward a narrow hallway. "Kitchen's back there. Don't wake him. You think I drove over here to inspect your cabinets? No. If you had, I'd have given you the wrong address." I took off my coat. There was nowhere obvious to put it, so I folded it over the arm of a wooden chair. Claire watched me do that too. Her apartment was clean but crowded. Books filled 2 walls, and plants occupied most of the windowsill. On the dining table sat a sewing machine, a stack of mail, and 3 mugs, although only one of them looked recently used. Evan's phone lay beside the sugar bowl. I stopped. Claire stepped between me and the table. "I'm not taking it," I said. "You were looking at it. That remains legal in most states. It's off." "Did he turn it off?" "He asked me to." "That's not the same thing. You've been here 40 seconds, and you've accused me of theft and kidnapping." "I didn't accuse you of kidnapping. You implied I couldn't be trusted near a sleeping man." Her eyes went toward the living room. "Keep your voice down." I did. Claire filled a kettle at the sink. She had always needed to do something with her hands when angry. As a teenager, she cleaned. Diane and I once had a terrible argument, and Claire responded by organizing the refrigerator into categories none of us understood. "Tea?" she asked. "Coffee. I don't have any." "You always hated tea. People change." "Not that much." She opened a cabinet and took down a jar of instant coffee. "I keep this for plumbers. I'm touched." "You're not plumbing." "Then I'll have tea." The kettle clicked against the burner. Claire folded her arms and leaned against the counter. "How did you find out?" I asked. "He called me from a gas station Friday night. I thought you two weren't speaking." "We weren't." And then he called. That's generally how not speaking ends. What did he say? That he needed somewhere to sleep where Marissa wouldn't look. Why did he think she wouldn't look here? Claire stared at me. "All right," I said. The kettle began to murmur. "Did you know about the suitcase?" I asked. "No. He told me after he got here." "Why was your photograph in it?" "Ask him. I'm asking you." And I'm not answering for him. I had forgotten how exhausting it was to talk to Claire when she believed the truth was on her side. She never raised her voice. She simply removed every place you might hide. "Is he hurt?" I asked. "Yes." "How badly?" "He won't let me take him anywhere." "Take him where?" "To be looked at." "By a doctor?" She nodded. "What happened?" "Ask him." "Claire, what do you want me to do, Dad? Wake him up and arrange him on the couch so you can examine him? I want you to stop treating me like I'm the danger." She turned off the burner. For a second, neither of us moved. "You're not the danger," she said. "You're the ride back to it." The words landed cleanly. I looked through the doorway at the couch. Evan had not moved. "I know what happened after the mug," Claire said. "He told you?" "Eventually. I didn't force him to go home." "No. You just made staying with you feel like an overreaction." "That's not fair. I'm sure you were very fair." "You probably said both sides were upset." "I said marriage is complicated." That must have helped his lip. I turned toward the window. A fire escape crossed the glass in a grid of rusted iron. On the opposite side of the alley, a woman shook out a yellow dish towel, then clipped it to a line. "I was trying not to interfere," I said. "You always interfere. You just do it on behalf of whoever wants things to stay the same." I faced her. Claire's chin trembled once before she tightened it. "I came to you," she said, "before that dinner. I told you the way Marissa talked to him wasn't normal. You said she was cruel. She was cruel. You wanted me to confront her. I wanted you to notice. I noticed. And then you asked me to leave. You were shouting at the table." She had just spent 10 minutes telling Evan how embarrassing he was because he spilled wine on a napkin. She was angry. So was I. "And that excused everything you said?" "No." Claire gripped the edge of the counter, but only one angry person got removed from the room, and it was the one who wasn't married to your son. The kettle popped as the metal cooled. I did not have an answer that wasn't made from old arguments. A floorboard creaked behind us. Evan stood in the kitchen doorway. He wore a wrinkled gray t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants that were too short for him. Claire's, probably. His hair was flattened on one side, The split in his lower lip had begun to heal, but the skin around it was yellow and purple. He looked at me, then at Claire. "Why is he here?" "I called you," I said. "I know." "You didn't answer. That was the idea." Claire stepped toward him. "You should sit down. I'm fine. You almost fell over getting to the bathroom this morning. I stood up too fast. You walked into a wall. The wall came out of nowhere." Evan, he moved past her and opened the refrigerator. Inside were 2 takeout cartons, eggs, mustard, and a bottle of wine. He stared into it. "You want something?" Claire asked. "No, you haven't eaten. I'm not hungry. That's not an answer. It answers the question." Claire opened one of the cartons. The smell of garlic filled the kitchen. "I can heat this up." I said no. "You said you weren't hungry. That means no in restaurants all across America." I recognized the edge in his voice because I had used it myself. Humor sharpened until it could cut the person trying to help. Claire closed the carton. Evan looked at me. "What did you tell Marissa?" "Nothing about you being here. You talked to her." "Yes." "What did she say?" "That you were in Chicago." He laughed once and touched his side. Claire saw it. "Sit down. Stop. You're hurting." "I know, Claire. I was there." The room changed. Evan turned away from both of us. His shirt had ridden up slightly at his waist. Along his left side, above the waistband, a dark bruise spread toward his ribs. I felt the kitchen narrow around me. "What happened?" I asked. He pulled the shirt down. "Don't." "Did Marissa do that?" I said don't. "Evan, Dad." He used the word this time, and it sounded nothing like the text. I closed my mouth. Claire put a plate on the counter without speaking. Evan stared at it, then picked up a piece of cold garlic bread and took a bite. She did not look pleased with herself, which was how I knew she was trying very hard. He chewed slowly. I waited. Finally, he said, "She pushed me." Claire's hand flattened against the counter. "Into what?" I asked. "The corner of the kitchen island." "When?" "Friday." "Before Brian saw you holding your side?" His head snapped up. "You went to Brian? I was looking for you. I told him not to call you." He didn't. I called him. Evan set down the bread. "You went to my office too." "How did you know?" Marissa texted before I turned off my phone. "On Thursday you called your supervisor from your truck. He said you sounded upset. You talked to Rick? I returned your pipe cutter. You still had that? That's the part you're concerned about?" He leaned both hands on the counter and lowered his head. "I needed a couple of days," he said. "That's all. You were sleeping in your truck. For one night. You left your clothes behind. I have clothes. You're wearing your sister's pants." Claire looked down at them. "Those are not mine." "Thank God," Evan said. "They're Daniel's." I looked at her. "My ex," she said. "You missed a whole relationship." "It wasn't a whole relationship," Evan said. "It felt whole while I was paying for therapy afterward." The joke passed through the room and left something looser behind it. Evan took another bite of bread. "What happened Thursday?" I asked. His face closed again. "Dad, I found the suitcase." "I know." "She tried to tell me it was for donations." "She would." "Why was it behind the furnace?" "Because she never goes down there." Claire poured hot water into 2 mugs and pushed one toward me. Evan continued staring at the counter. "I packed it about a week ago," he said. "Just things I didn't want to lose." "Lose how?" "I don't know. I wanted it ready." "Why didn't you bring it Thursday?" "Because I couldn't get to it." He picked at a blister in the bread crust. "She found out I'd called Claire," he said. I looked at my daughter. She remained still. "When?" I asked. "The week before." "We only talked for 10 minutes. Marissa checked my phone while I was in the shower and saw the call." "Why was that a problem?" "You know why? I want to hear you say it." "No, you want a clean answer you can do something with." He pushed away from the counter. "She said Claire had been trying to break us up for years. I told her I was allowed to call my own sister. She said I was choosing Claire over my marriage. It kept going from there. Until Thursday, until everything." His voice thinned on the last word. He folded his arms, then winced and let them fall. I went downstairs for the case. Marissa followed me. She stood between me and the furnace. Did she know it was there? By then. What did she do? She wanted me to say who had convinced me to leave. Who had? Nobody. Then why? Because I wanted to. The answer came hard enough to silence me. Evan's eyes were red, but his voice stayed level. She kept saying if I wanted it so badly I could move her, just push past her. I knew if I touched her, that would become the story. So, I left it. I walked out. With nothing, my wallet, no coat. I had a jacket in the truck. Why did you go back Friday? He glanced at Claire. She said she understood. She said we could talk calmly. And we couldn't. He looked down at his side. I did not ask again. The phone on the table began to vibrate. All three of us turned. Marissa's name glowed on the screen. Evan watched it until the vibration stopped. A moment later, it started again. Claire reached to silence it, but he caught her wrist. Leave it. She pulled her hand back. The phone went quiet. I set down my untouched tea. You can stay at my house, I said. Evan's face changed, not relief, but weariness. No. I have the room, I know. She won't know unless you tell her. That's not why. You'd have your own space. Dad, stop. I heard Brian telling me not to make the first thing out of my mouth a solution. Too late. I nodded and reached for my coat. Claire looked surprised. You're leaving? He asked me to stop. Evan's eyes followed me as I put on the coat. At the door, I turned back. I'm sorry I took you home after the mug, I said. I thought I was helping you save your marriage. I didn't ask what saving it was costing. He stared at me. I opened the door. Dad. I stopped. He had one hand resting over the bruise beneath his shirt. Don't tell her. I won't. Even if she makes you feel cruel. I looked at my son, then at the daughter who had spent 2 years waiting for me to understand one simple thing. Especially then, I said. The hallway smelled like somebody's burned toast. I stood outside Claire's door until I heard the deadbolt slide into place, then walked down the stairs. Halfway to my car, my phone began ringing. Marissa. I watched her name until the screen went dark. 3 missed calls, 9 text messages. The last one said, I'm scared, Cal. That was harder to ignore than anger. I typed, he is safe. The call came immediately. I answered but did not speak. You found him, she said. He's safe. Where? I'm not telling you. Her breath caught. He asked you not to? Yes. So you're with him? I didn't say that. Is he at your house? No. The word was out before I considered whether even that much information belonged to me. Then where is he? I told him I wouldn't say. I'm his wife. He knows that. You don't get to do this. I'm not doing anything. Evan is. He isn't thinking clearly. He seems clear enough. You saw him? I looked up at Claire's windows. The curtains were closed. I'm going home, I said. Cal, please. Just tell me if he's hurt. You know he is. She went silent. You pushed him into the kitchen island, I said. It wasn't like that. What was it like? He was walking away while I was talking to him. I grabbed his arm, he pulled away, and we both lost our balance. Both of you? I didn't mean for him to hit anything. That wasn't my question. I fell too. Were you hurt? Another pause. No. Then it sounds like only one of you lost his balance. You weren't there. No. You have no idea what he's like when he shuts down. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because shutting down was the Mercer family's principal method of communication. I have some idea, I said. He stares at you. He won't say anything. He makes you hear every awful thing you've said in your own voice. That sounds unpleasant. You're doing it right now. A gust of wind carried grit across the sidewalk. I turned my back to it. I love him, Marissa said. I know. You don't sound like you believe me. I believe you love him. Then help me. Those aren't the same thing. Her voice hardened. Claire has him, doesn't she? I said nothing. Oh my God, that's where he is. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She ended the call. I was back up the stairs before the screen went dark. I knocked hard. Claire opened the door with Evan behind her. What happened? She asked. She guessed. You told her? No. She said your name. I didn't answer. Claire swore. Evan reached for his phone on the table. I'll text her. No, Claire said. He looked at her. I wasn't asking. She'll come here. She might come anyway. Then I won't let her in. It's your apartment. You don't have to. The exchange was quick and polished, as if they had already had versions of it all day. Evan turned on his phone, Messages began filling the screen so rapidly the device sounded like an insect trapped against glass. 47, he said. Claire stared. Since when? This morning. He opened the message screen. I did not move close enough to read it. She knows I'm here, he said. She thinks, I said. She knows how you don't answer. Claire gave me a look. Apparently that's hereditary. Evan's thumb hovered over the screen. What are you going to say? She asked. That I'm safe and need space. You already said that. I'm saying it again. She knows what it means. It means what I said. To you. He looked up sharply. What do you want me to do? Nothing. That's the point. You don't have to respond every time she pulls the string. I'm not a puppet. I didn't say you were. You strongly arranged the words in that direction. Claire crossed her arms. I stepped farther into the apartment and closed the door. Does Marissa have a key? No, Claire said. Has she been here before? Once. 2 years ago. That dinner, Evan said. Claire's face went blank. I remembered Marissa leaving our house after Claire. Evan had stayed at the table, silent, while I wrapped the uneaten pie in foil. I had assumed they went straight home. What happened here? I asked. Not now, Claire said. Evan looked at her. She came to tell Claire to stay away from us. You were with her? No. I found out afterward. How? Marissa told me. She said she'd handled it. Claire walked to the window and looked down through the curtain. Her SUV isn't here yet, she said. Evan finished typing and showed Claire the screen before sending it. The gesture seemed automatic. I'm safe. I need time without contact. Please don't come here. Claire read it. Don't say here. Why? It confirms the location. She knows, she suspects. She's not stupid. I didn't say she was. Evan deleted the last 2 words and sent the message. The phone rang before he could turn it off. He stared at Marissa's name. Then he answered. Hi. His voice changed. It did not become warmer exactly, smaller. No, I'm okay. Claire closed her eyes. I know, I'm sorry. I looked at him. No, I didn't tell him. He figured it out. A pause. I understand that. Another pause, longer. I'm not punishing you. His free hand pressed against his side. I can't do this right now. Marissa was speaking loudly enough that I could hear the rhythm, but not the words. I said I can't. He listened. No, don't come. The rhythm stopped. Evan lowered the phone and looked at it. What did she say? Claire asked. That she won't. You believe her? I don't know. He walked back to the couch and sat carefully. Claire stood over him. You apologized 3 times. So? What are you apologizing for? Leaving. You were hurt. I still left without telling her where I was going. You didn't owe her a travel itinerary after she shoved you into a counter. Evan rubbed both hands over his face. Can we not make every sentence about that? What should we make it about? Anything. Weather, instant coffee, Dad's inability to mind his own business. I've been waiting years for you to appreciate that quality, I said. Neither of them laughed. Claire picked up his phone from the couch cushion and switched it off again. Evan held out his hand. Give it back. You said you wanted quiet. I said, give it back. She did, but with the expression of someone returning a loaded weapon. He placed it face down on the coffee table. I need to lie down. You've been lying down all day, Claire said. I'm remarkably talented. You need food. I ate. You ate half a piece of garlic bread. There are countries where that's considered lunch. Name one. Garlic land. Claire's nostrils flared. Evan looked at me. Did she always do this? Yes. Do what? Claire asked. Turn feeding people into a hostage situation. I'm trying to keep you from passing out. I'm trying to breathe. The words came out louder than he intended. Claire stepped back. A knock sounded at the door. All 3 of us froze. Then a man in the hallway called, Claire? Package. Claire exhaled and went to retrieve it. When she came back, Evan had closed his eyes. You can't stay here, she said quietly. His eyes opened. I don't mean you can't stay, she added. I mean this isn't working. The couch is terrible. You won't let me help. And every noise in the hall is going to make all of us think she's outside. Where should I go? They both looked at me. I kept my hands in my coat pockets. My spare room is available, I said. That's not advice, it's information. Evan studied my face. Would you tell her? He asked. No. What if she comes to your house? I won't let her in. What if she calls Aunt Susan? She will call Aunt Susan whether you stay with me or move to Canada. Despite himself, he smiled. Susan would locate me in Canada. She'd bring a casserole, Claire said. She'd complain Canadian ovens run cold. They use the same ovens. Don't tell Susan. The tension loosened, then settled again. Evan touched his side. I'm not going tonight. All right, I said. Claire looked at him. Why not? Because I don't want to. That's an answer, I said. Her eyes flicked toward me. I left before Marissa could arrive. At home, I turned on every downstairs light, then felt ridiculous and turned off two. I checked the front window each time a car slowed on the street. At 8, Aunt Susan called. At 8:15, Diane called from Arizona. My former wife had not called me after dark in 7 years. At 8:40, Marissa's red SUV stopped across the street. She sat there with the engine running. I did not go outside. Eventually the headlights went dark, then the driver's door opened. Marissa came up the walk carrying the blue suitcase. I met her on the porch before she could ring the bell. I'm not giving this to you, she said. I just thought he might come here for it. She set it beside my feet. The scorched corner faced me. Why would he come here? I asked. You tell me. Her face was pale and swollen from crying. She looked exhausted enough that sympathy rose before I could stop it. I didn't mean to hurt him, she said. Go home, Marissa. Is he with Claire? I'm not answering that. She hates me. This isn't about Claire. It's always about Claire. She decided who I was years ago, and now everybody gets to pretend she predicted something. I looked down at the suitcase. You found this Thursday? I asked. Marissa wiped beneath one eye with the heel of her hand. He packed our life into a bag. He packed his life. That's the same thing to me. There it was, not a threat, not quite, a belief. You can't make another person the proof that you exist, I said. Spare me the wisdom. You haven't kept a marriage together either. That one found its mark. She saw it and immediately looked sorry. I'm asking you to tell him I'm willing to do anything, she said. I'll tell him you said it, if I speak to him. You already have. I did not answer. Marissa stepped close enough that I could smell her perfume under the cold air. Be careful, she said. Evan knows how much you need to feel useful. He'll let you rescue him until you've destroyed whatever chance we have left. Then she walked back to her car. I stood on the porch with the suitcase between my shoes. The next morning, at 7, somebody knocked. Evan stood outside in the same gray shirt and 2 short sweatpants. Claire waited in her car at the curb, refusing to look toward the house. He held a grocery bag with a toothbrush, a bottle of pain reliever, and the leftover garlic bread inside. I'm not staying forever, he said. I picked up the blue suitcase from the hall. You don't have to, I said. Evan looked at the suitcase in my hand. How did that get here? Marissa brought it last night. She came here? She left it on the porch. What did you tell her? That I didn't know why you'd come here. He watched me a moment, then looked past me toward the street. Claire's car was still at the curb. She knows, he said. She suspects. She always knows when people are lying. I didn't lie. You used exact language. That's your favorite kind. I stepped back from the doorway. Evan came inside, moving carefully. Claire pulled away before he had closed the door. He watched her car disappear around the corner. You two have a fight? I asked. She tried to schedule a doctor's appointment while I was asleep. She's worried. She's managing. There's a family resemblance. He looked at the suitcase again. Did Marissa open it? It was open when I found it. I mean, after. I don't know. He crouched, winced, and unzipped it. The photograph of him and Claire was face down now. He turned it over and checked the glass. Then he lifted the recipe tin, shook it gently, and put it back. What's supposed to be in there? I asked. Recipes. I know that. Then why'd you ask? It sounded like you were checking for something. I was checking that the cards were still there. He zipped the case and stood. Your room's ready. It doesn't have to be my room. It can be the room in which you are temporarily located. Better. The spare room had once belonged to Claire. After she left, I painted over the dark purple walls with a color called oyster shell that looked suspiciously beige. The bed was made, and I had cleared 2 drawers in the dresser. Evan set the grocery bag on the floor. You didn't have to clear anything, he said. I needed somewhere to put my winter socks. Where'd you put them? The other 4 drawers. He opened one. It was empty. Those were empty already. No, they weren't. What was in them? Possibilities. He gave me a tired look and sat on the edge of the bed. I placed the suitcase beside the dresser. Bathrooms across the hall. Towels are in the closet. I grew up here. That bathroom didn't have a toilet for 3 weeks when you grew up here. Best 3 weeks of Claire's life. She told everyone I fell through the floor. You almost did. I was brushing my teeth. You were jumping. I brush aggressively. He leaned back on his hands, then went pale. Lie down, I said. I'm fine. That phrase has lost credibility. Dad. You don't have to see a doctor. You don't have to eat. You don't have to tell me what happened. But if you pass out, I am calling somebody, and I won't apologize. I'm not going to pass out. All right. I left him sitting there. In the kitchen, I took eggs from the refrigerator, then put them back. Making breakfast would look like pressure. Not making breakfast would look like I wanted him gone. I settled on toast, which felt emotionally neutral. Evan came in while it was still in the toaster. I'm going to call Rick, he said. Good. Don't listen. I'll take my toast outside. It's 34 degrees, then I'll eat quickly. He almost smiled. I carried my plate to the back porch and shut the door behind me. Through the glass, I saw him sit at the kitchen table. He called, spoke for about 10 minutes, then put his head down on his folded arms. I looked away. The toast was cold by the time he opened the door. You can come in, he said. That was generous. I told Rick I'd take the week. What did he say? That he doesn't care as long as I eventually explain why I called the Northeast Regional Director a fraudulent zucchini. I stared. He's a very bad man. Professionally. Mostly about squash. I followed Evan inside. He stood at the counter, staring at the toast still on the plate. Is there more? He asked. I pointed to the loaf. He made 2 pieces without being told. I considered that progress and was smart enough not to say so. His phone stayed off until noon. When he switched it on, messages arrived in waves. He sat at the dining table reading them. I fixed a hinge on the pantry door that had not needed fixing urgently. Is Aunt Susan always this fast? He asked. She called me last night. What did you say? That you were safe. You told her you found me? I said I had reason to believe you were safe. Exact language. Yes. He turned the phone so I could see. Susan had written, your mother is worried sick. Whatever happened, disappearing is not how an adult handles marriage. Your mother? I said. Diane is in Arizona. She means Marissa. Then she should have written your wife. She likes promotions. Another message followed from a cousin Evan had not seen in 3 years. Brother, marriage takes humility. Call your wife. Evan laughed under his breath. What? I asked. He cheated on his second wife with his third. Maybe humility came later. He put the phone down. Are you going to answer them? I don't know. You don't have to. I know. He picked up the phone again. Marissa's messages were visible at the top. I saw only fragments. Please just let me hear. I'm trying to respect. Your father has always... Evan tilted the screen away. Sorry, I said. You weren't looking. I was. You're allowed to have eyes. Claire may challenge that. He opened a message, typed, deleted it, and switched off the phone again. By late afternoon, he had moved from the kitchen table to the couch and back 3 times. He could not get comfortable. He also refused pain reliever because it made his stomach feel strange, refused ice because the bruise was past the ice stage, and refused heat because Claire had told him to use it. What stage are you in? I asked. The leave me alone stage. I think that one started Thursday. He glared. I went to the garage. I did not need to be there. I reorganized a drawer of screws and listened to him pace above me. When I returned, he was standing beside the blue suitcase. The contents were spread across the spare room bed. He held my house key in his palm. You could have asked me, I said. For what? To stay here. When? Any time. He dropped the key onto the sweater. You think I didn't know that? I don't understand the question. I knew you had a room. I knew you'd make coffee and tell me everybody says things they regret and ask whether I wanted to throw away 11 years. I wouldn't say that now. No. Now you know what answer you're supposed to give. The words were quiet, almost casual. I leaned against the doorframe. What answer is that? That I should leave? That none of this is my fault? That Marissa's abusive and I'm brave? I haven't said any of those things. Claire has. I'm not Claire. You both look at me like I'm broken. What would you prefer? I don't know. Maybe for you to admit this is inconvenient. I straightened. He gestured around the room. You have your routines. Your house is quiet. Now I'm here, and my wife is calling everybody we know, and you're eating toast in the backyard because you don't know how to be normal around me. I was giving you privacy. You were freezing dramatically. I did not freeze dramatically. I froze discreetly. His mouth twitched, but the anger remained. This is inconvenient, I said. Your sister is furious with me. Your wife sat outside my house last night. Susan has probably formed a committee. I would prefer you weren't hurt, and I would prefer I hadn't helped teach you to hide it. But you being in this room is not the inconvenience. What is? Waiting for you to decide whether I'm allowed to care. He looked down at the key. You always make it sound reasonable, he said. Make what sound reasonable? Whatever you want. I offered you a room. And if I go back? The question surprised me. If you go back where? Home. My first answer rose so quickly I nearly said it. Don't. I felt him waiting for it. That's your decision, I said. He gave a bitter laugh. There it is. What? The calm father. No judgment, no opinion, no fingerprints. You just accused me of controlling you. I accused you of hiding. My hands curled against the doorframe. What would you like me to say, Evan? That you don't want me to go back. I don't. Why? Because your wife pushed you into a counter. Once. And threw a mug. She wasn't aiming at me. No, she was aiming near you. That distinction seemed more useful before I saw your ribs. He sat on the bed. I stepped into the room, but did not move closer. I don't want you to go back, I said. I am also not going to make leaving her the price of staying here. His eyes filled. He blinked hard and looked toward the window. I'm not afraid of her, he said. I believe you. She's not like this all the time. I believe that too. She can be funny, I know. She makes every place feel alive. I thought of Marissa entering a room and everyone adjusting around her. Yes, I said. He rubbed his thumb over the teeth of the house key. She lost her mother, then Dana, he said. After Dana died, every time I left the house angry, she thought I wasn't coming back. Who was Dana, her best friend? I didn't know. She doesn't talk about it, but she talks about people leaving, constantly. His phone rang in the kitchen. Neither of us moved at first. Then he stood. What are you doing? I asked, answering it. Is that what you want? He looked at me with tired irritation. I don't know what I want. That doesn't mean everybody else gets to decide. He reached the phone before it stopped. Hi, Marissa, he said. I stayed in the spare room. From the kitchen came silence, then Evan's voice, softening. Yes, he said. I miss you too. I heard him pull out a kitchen chair. No, he said. I'm not at Claire's anymore. A pause. I'm not telling you where I am. He looked toward the spare room. Our eyes met across the hall. I'm safe, he said. That's enough for tonight. Marissa spoke for a long time. I could hear her crying now, the uneven catches between words. Evan lowered his head. I know you're scared. Another pause. I'm scared too. That quieted her. He listened, then said, I can't promise that. His fingers tightened around the phone. No, I'm not trying to punish you. I'm trying to figure out whether I can come home without pretending nothing happened. I sat on the edge of the spare room bed. The suitcase remained open beside me. Evan's green sweater lay across the pillow, one sleeve still stretched where Marissa had caught it in the zipper. I folded it and placed it back in the case. I didn't tell them everything, Evan said from the kitchen. I told them what I needed to. His voice sharpened, because it happened to me. Silence followed, then, softer. Yes. I know. I put the photograph on top of the sweater. All right, he said. Tomorrow. He ended the call and stayed at the table. I closed the suitcase. When I came into the kitchen, he was turning his phone slowly between his palms. She wants to meet, he said. What did you say? Tomorrow? Here? I don't know. You can use the house if you want. I don't need you supervising. I said you could use the house. Would you leave? If you asked me to. He studied me. Where would you go? Gus has been trying to lure me into his basement for 6 months. What's in his basement? A train set and unresolved feelings about municipal zoning. Evan rubbed his face. I'm serious. So am I. He built half of downtown in miniature and refuses to include the new parking garage. He laughed, then immediately pressed his side. Don't make me laugh. I'll speak to Gus about realism. He became quiet again. She apologized, he said. For what? Everything. That's broad. She said she shouldn't have looked at my phone. She shouldn't have called Susan. She shouldn't have pushed me. She said the word pushed. That matters to you. Yes. I filled a glass of water and set it beside him. She found a counselor, he said. A real one. Not Pastor Neil. I didn't know you'd seen Pastor Neil. Once. He told me marriage is a garden. Did he offer fertilizer? He said resentment was a weed. Convenient. Evan took a drink. She said she'd go alone if I wasn't ready. I leaned against the counter. What do you want me to say? Nothing. All right. He looked irritated. I waited. Finally, he said, Do you think people can change? Yes. That was fast. I changed my answer to that question years ago. When? Your mother moved to Arizona and became cheerful. He smiled despite himself. Diane had spent 27 years insisting she hated heat before moving into a house outside Tucson and buying 3 hats. I mean, really change, he said. I know. Do you think Marissa can? Yes. He looked surprised. I also think wanting someone to change can make you count promises as proof, I said. There it is. What? The warning. You asked my opinion. I asked if she could change, and I said yes. With a footnote. I'm old. We communicate in footnotes. He stood, left the water unfinished, and went to the spare room. I called Claire after he shut the door. She answered with, How is he? He ate 4 pieces of toast. That's not what I asked. He's moving better. Did he agree to see a doctor? No. I'll come over in the morning. Ask him first. The silence on her end chilled. What did you say? He needs people to ask. I'm his sister. Yes, I'm trying to help. I know. Have you decided I'm the problem now? No, because 2 days ago you suddenly discovered Marissa is dangerous. And today you're telling me I need permission to bring soup. Soup isn't the issue, it's broth. Then the broth isn't the issue. She breathed through her nose. Evan is talking to Marissa tomorrow, I said. What? He agreed to meet her. And you're allowing that? There it was. I closed my eyes. He's 39, Claire. He's hurt. Both things are true. You should tell him he can't. I spent 2 years regretting what I told him to do. I'm not solving that by giving different orders. That sounds very evolved. It doesn't feel evolved. It sounds like you're already preparing to say, none of this is your fault when he goes back. That isn't fair. No. It's accurate. She ended the call. I stood in the kitchen holding the phone. From the spare room, Evan said, That went well. You were listening? These walls are made of paper. They're plaster, judgmental plaster. He did not open the door. Marissa came at 10 the next morning carrying 2 coffees in a cardboard tray. She had put on makeup, but it did not hide the swelling around her eyes. Her hair was pulled into a loose knot. Instead of her usual fitted coat, she wore Evan's old brown jacket, the one he had used for yard work, until she said it made him look homeless. Is he here? She asked. Yes. Can I see him? That's up to him. Her eyes moved past me into the house. You don't have to talk like a hotel clerk. How should I talk? Like you've known me 11 years. I stepped aside. She entered but remained on the mat. Evan appeared at the end of the hall wearing clean jeans and one of my flannel shirts. It was too wide across the shoulders. Marissa looked at the shirt, then at me. Hi, she said. Hi, I brought coffee. I see that. I got yours wrong the first time and had to go back. Evan's mouth twitched. That sounds right. For 1 second, they were themselves again. Then Marissa saw the fading cut on his lip. Her face crumpled. I'm sorry, she said. Evan looked down. She did not approach him. I'm not going to touch you unless you ask me to, she said. I should have said that before I came in. His eyes lifted. I'll go, I said. Evan nodded. Marissa did not thank me, which I respected more than if she had. Gus met me at his front door wearing a railroad conductor's cap. I thought you were joking, I said. I never joke about rail. His basement contained an entire town on 3 levels, including a hospital, a movie theater, and a tiny adult bookstore hidden behind the fire station. Adds realism, Gus said when he saw me notice it. For 2 hours, I helped him wire streetlights while pretending not to wonder what was happening in my kitchen. At noon, my phone rang. Evan said, Can you come back? His voice sounded steady. Marissa sat at the dining table when I arrived. Both coffees were empty. A pile of used tissues lay between them. I made promises, she said before I sat. They're between you and Evan? No, some involve you. I waited. I won't use him to keep you out, she said. I know I do that. Evan watched her. She clasped her hands. I won't read his phone. I won't call relatives when we fight. And I won't make him prove he loves me by choosing who he doesn't speak to. Each apology was specific. That made it harder to dismiss. I'm starting counseling Thursday, she said. Alone. If Evan comes, he comes. If he doesn't, I still go. What are you asking from me? I said. Nothing. That would be new for both of us. A flash of anger crossed her face. She let it pass. I'm asking you not to decide I'm beyond repair, she said. I don't get to decide that. She looked at Evan. He was holding my house key. I'm going home with her, he said. The room tilted slightly, though nothing moved. For today? I asked. For now. Marissa's shoulders loosened. I looked at Evan. Do you want help packing? No. Do you want me to bring the suitcase down? I can get it. He went to the spare room. Marissa stayed seated. Say what you're thinking. It isn't my decision. That's not what you're thinking. No, what are you thinking? That he was afraid I'd send him home, and I'm afraid if I object now, I'll prove him right. Her face softened. I'm not asking you to send him, she said. I know. Evan returned carrying the blue suitcase. The scorched corner bumped against the hallway wall. He held out my key. Keep it, I said. I don't want this to feel like a threat. It's a key, Evan, to you. I closed his fingers around it. He carried the suitcase to Marissa's SUV. She waited near the passenger door instead of taking it from him. Before he got in, he looked back at the house. I raised one hand. He did the same. Then Marissa drove away. Claire arrived 11 minutes later with a pot of broth and found me standing in the spare room, staring at the empty place beside the dresser. You let him go, she said. I didn't own the door. She set the pot down so hard the lid jumped. No, she said. You just keep holding it open for the wrong person. I did not let him go, I said. He left your house with a bruised rib and the woman who gave it to him. Which part of that could I have stopped without becoming another person who decides where he's allowed to be? You could have had an opinion. I gave him one. You whispered it so nobody had to feel uncomfortable. Claire's voice filled the spare room. The bed was still unmade. One of Evan's borrowed socks lay beneath the dresser, gray and abandoned. I told him I didn't want him to go back. And then, you carried his suitcase. He carried it. Of course you remember that distinction. She walked to the window and looked toward the street as if Evan and Marissa might still be there. He thinks specific apologies mean she's changed, Claire said. Specific apologies are better than vague ones. He had to tell her what to apologize for. Most people do. Claire turned. Whose side are you on? I'm not on Marissa's side. That wasn't my question. Evan isn't asking us to fight a war. No, he's asking us to stand still while he walks back into a burning house. And what happens if we drag him out? Does that make the house less attractive, or does it make us his new problem? Her expression closed. I had won something I did not want. Claire picked up the pot of broth. Leave it, I said. He's not here to eat it. I eat broth. You drink broth? Then I'll drink it. She carried it toward the kitchen. I followed. At the counter, she took off the lid and checked the contents as if the argument might have spoiled them. You always did this with him, she said. Did what? Made room for his confusion. He needed it. So did I. The answer came quietly. She placed the lid back on the pot. You were never confused, I said. Claire laughed once. I was loud. That isn't the same thing. I didn't know you needed, right? Because I made my own appointments and changed my own tires and told you when something hurt. Evan looked sad in a doorway, and everybody dropped what they were doing. That's not fair. You've said that twice in 2 days. Maybe fairness isn't the problem. She picked up her coat. Claire, don't worry. I'll handle myself. I have experience. She left the broth. I drank it for dinner. She was right. Soup had objects in it. Broth was just wet. At 9, Evan texted, Home, things calm. I wrote, good, then deleted it. I wrote, I'm here if you need me. That seemed like pressure, so I deleted that too. Finally, I sent a thumbs up, the emotional equivalent of standing across the street. He did not respond. The next morning, Marissa sent a photograph of Lester asleep on Evan's chest. Only the lower half of Evan's face was visible, his split lip pale beneath the cat's head. Thank you for giving us room, she wrote. I did not answer. At 10, Susan called. My older sister had been born with the belief that families were engines, and she was the only person qualified to keep them running. She had organized our parents' 50th anniversary, both funerals, Diane's farewell dinner when she moved, and a surprise retirement party I specifically asked her not to throw. "Marissa says you're refusing to speak to her," she said. "Good morning, Susan. It's almost lunch." It was morning when I started avoiding this conversation. "This is serious, I know. What happened? You should ask Evan. He isn't answering me, then wait. People don't get to disappear and make everybody else sick with worry. He didn't disappear. Where was he? I'm not telling you, so you did know. Eventually, and you hid him from his wife. He asked for privacy. A married man doesn't hide from his wife. Some do." Susan lowered her voice, which meant she was becoming more dangerous. "Cal, Marissa is frightened. She says Claire has been filling Evan's head with terrible things. Claire and Evan hadn't spoken in 2 years. Then why did he go to her? The question was good enough that I did not answer. Susan took my silence as encouragement. Claire has always been jealous of that marriage. No, she's never kept a relationship longer than a few years. Neither have you since Walter died. That is a disgusting thing to say. It is. That's why using the length of somebody's relationship as proof of wisdom is a bad idea." She inhaled sharply. I had surprised her. I had surprised myself. "What has gotten into you?" she asked. "My son asked me not to discuss his private life. Marissa is family too." "Yes." "Then why are you choosing him?" "Because he asked." "And she didn't?" "She asked me to betray him." Susan made a sound of pure frustration. "You're being manipulated, possibly." "By Claire. Possibly. You don't believe that." "No, then why say it?" "Because I don't need to prove I'm right in order to say no." She was quiet for several seconds. "Well," she said finally, "you certainly sound proud of yourself. I'm standing in my kitchen wearing one slipper. Pride isn't the dominant emotion." She hung up. I looked down. I was wearing both slippers. By afternoon, 2 cousins had texted me. One asked me to remember that marriage required forgiveness. The other said she was praying for all of us, which in our family meant she had already chosen a side, but did not want follow-up questions. Diane called after dinner. "You sound tired," she said. "You sound tan." "I'm always tan now. It's very irritating." "Why did you call?" "Susan said you've become hostile. That must have taken courage to report. She also said Evan ran away from his marriage and Claire helped. He took space." "Is that what we call running away when men do it?" "There was the Diane I remembered. He went home," I said. She was silent. "What?" I asked. "I'm deciding whether to criticize you. Take your time. You're good at that." I walked into it. "Yes, you did." A bird made a sharp call through her open window. Something desert-sounding and judgmental. "Is he safe?" she asked. "He says things are calm." "That's not what I asked." "I don't know." "And you let him go." "I did not let." I stopped. Diane waited. "He's 39, I said. "Still?" "What does that mean?" "It means you said the same thing when Claire got engaged to Daniel, after knowing him 8 months. You use their age when you're frightened of having an opinion. She didn't marry Daniel, because I told her I thought she was making a mistake, and she listened? Absolutely not. But she knew where I stood." I rubbed my forehead. "What would you have done?" I asked. "Probably everything wrong, but louder. That isn't helpful. It's honest." After we hung up, I sat in the living room with the television off. The house had returned to quiet too quickly. Evan's water glass was still beside the couch. A dent remained in the spare room pillow. I carried the glass to the sink, washed it, then put it back on the table. The next day, Evan called at lunchtime. "Just checking in," he said. "You don't have to." "I know. How are things?" "Good." We talked for 3 hours last night. That's a long talk. Marissa showed me the counselor's website. Was it attractive? "What?" "The website, I guess." "Then everything's solved." He laughed. It sounded real. "She went this morning," he said. "She came back upset, but in a good way." "What does upset in a good way look like?" "She didn't blame me for it. That does sound different." She said the counselor asked why she treats my leaving the room like I'm leaving the marriage. What did she say? That she didn't know. He seemed encouraged by that. I understood. There was humility in not knowing. "She's trying," he said. "I'm glad." "You mean that?" "Yes." He was quiet. "Claire hasn't called," he said. "Have you called her?" "No." Then you're tied. I don't want another lecture. Neither does she. You've talked to her? She left broth. That's not what I asked. I smiled despite myself. Exact language. I learned from a master. When we ended the call, I believed briefly that he might be all right. That evening, Marissa texted to say Evan had gone to pick up dinner and forgot his phone. She thanked me again for respecting their space. An hour later, Claire sent one sentence. If he goes silent again, don't pretend it means peace. I did not answer either woman. The following afternoon, Evan returned to work. Rick called me afterward, though he had no professional reason to. He looks like hell, he said. Did you tell him? I told him he looked rested, management material. He laughed. That's something. It was. Evan called again after work and complained for 10 minutes about freezer gaskets. I let myself enjoy it. Then, late the next night, someone knocked on my front door. Evan stood beneath the porch light with the same grocery bag he had brought before. This time it held his toothbrush, the bottle of pain reliever, and 2 rolled-up work shirts. His truck was parked crooked at the curb. I stepped aside. He did not enter. She went to counseling, he said. I know. She said she learned she has to name what she needs to feel safe. That sounds reasonable. She needs me to stop talking to Claire for 6 months. The porch light buzzed above us. And you? I asked. I'm allowed to see you once a week, as long as she's there. I see. No, you don't. His face twisted. She said if I won't agree, I'm choosing both of you over our marriage. She said I'm proving she was right to be afraid. What did you say? I said I wasn't doing it. And then? She asked me to leave until I could commit. I looked at the grocery bag. The blue suitcase? I asked. She put it in the living room before the argument, said I might as well keep it ready. Anger rose so cleanly that it steadied me. Evan stared past my shoulder into the house. I walked out again, he said. This time I knew exactly why. I opened the door wider. He came in without asking whether the room was still available. I locked the door behind him. He noticed. She's not coming, he said. I know. You don't. No. He carried the grocery bag down the hall. At the spare room doorway, he stopped and looked inside. I had remade the bed, picked up the sock beneath the dresser, and put the water glass back on the nightstand. You kept it ready, he said. I keep every room ready. The dining room has a table saw in it. That room has multiple purposes. He set the bag on the bed. Do you want something to eat? I asked. No. Do you want me to leave you alone? No. I waited. He sat on the edge of the mattress and pressed both palms over his eyes. I want you to say something that makes this make sense. I don't have it. You always have something. Most of it is recycled. His hands dropped. She went to counseling. She said all the right things. People can mean what they say and still not be able to do it. That's not better. No. I thought if she admitted what happened, we were past the worst part. You wanted the apology to be the end. I wanted to go home. I leaned against the dresser. That is your home, I said. Is it? The house is. That's exact language. Yes. He stared at the carpet. I should have stayed here, he said. I'm not going to reward that sentence. He looked up. Reward it? With, oh, I told you so. You didn't tell me. I thought it very loudly. I could hear it in Arizona. He almost laughed, but anger took its place. You were relieved when I came back tonight. No. You locked the door. I was relieved you had somewhere to come. That's the same thing. It isn't. You get to be needed again. Claire gets to be right. Marissa gets to be abandoned. Everybody gets a role except me. What role would you like? I don't know. He stood so quickly he caught his breath and put one hand against the wall. I moved toward him. Don't. I stopped. He remained bent slightly, waiting for the pain to ease. You should have the ribs looked at, I said. Congratulations. You found your solution. You might have a fracture. It's a bruise. You don't know. And you don't know how to sit in a room with something you can't fix. He straightened. I learned that from you, he said. What? The fixing. Except I did it with people. Every time Mom was angry, you sent me to ask if she wanted coffee. Every time Claire fought with you, you asked me what she really meant. You taught me the calm person was responsible for everybody else. That is not what I taught you. You called me your easy one. You were, because I knew what happened when I wasn't. The words struck hard enough that I stepped back. Evan looked sorry immediately. That made me angrier. Don't apologize, I said. I wasn't. You had the face ready. What face? The one where you rescue me from what you just said. His mouth tightened. You were not easy, I said. You were quiet. I treated those as the same thing because it made my life easier. He looked at me. But you are not a child now, I continued. I can take responsibility for what I taught you. I will not take responsibility for every year you kept teaching it to yourself. His face hardened. That's convenient. It's true. You drove me back. Once. You kept inviting Marissa to holidays after Claire stopped coming. Yes. You fixed the cabinet. Yes. You made it look like nothing happened. Yes. Each answer cost more than the one before it. Evan's eyes filled. I helped you go back, I said. I did not make you stay. He turned away. Neither of us spoke. Finally, he took the toothbrush from the grocery bag and carried it to the bathroom. The door shut with a soft click. I stood in the spare room, hating myself for feeling lighter. The truth had been cruel, but at least it was not hidden behind good manners. I slept badly. At 6, I found Evan in the kitchen eating cereal from a mixing bowl. We own normal bowls, I said. They're emotionally loaded. How? You served oatmeal in them. You loved oatmeal. I was afraid of conflict. I poured coffee. His phone lay on the table with the screen up. Marissa had sent more than 20 messages. Some were short enough to read without trying. Please come back so we can finish. I never said forever. Your father is enjoying this. You are punishing me for having needs. The last one said, I hope one day you understand what you've done. Evan turned the phone face down. Did you sleep? I asked. No. Me neither. Good. Good? It would be irritating if you had. I sat across from him. I'm sorry, he said. For what? Last night. You don't have to apologize. I was mean. You were accurate in several places. That doesn't make it not mean. No. He pushed the cereal around. I'm still angry with you, he said. I know. I'm not promising this is some big reconciliation. I wouldn't trust one before coffee. He took another bite. I'm also not going to a doctor, I gathered. Claire will try, probably. Don't call her. I won't. His phone began ringing. Aunt Susan. He rejected the call. A minute later, mine rang. I rejected it too. She'll come here, Evan said. She'd have to put on shoes. She sleeps in shoes. That explains a lot. At 9:20, Susan's sedan pulled into my driveway. Evan looked through the front window. Told you, she must have dressed in the car. He started toward the spare room, then stopped. What are you going to say, he asked. That she should leave. Why? Because you didn't invite her. He studied me. The doorbell rang twice, followed by 3 sharp knocks. Susan did not believe technology should replace effort. I opened the door, but kept one hand on the frame. She stood there in a camel-colored coat, holding a foil-covered baking dish. I brought breakfast, she said. We ate. You can eat again. No. Her eyebrows rose. Behind her, a second car slowed on the street. I thought it might be Marissa, but it continued past. Are you going to let me in? Susan asked. No, I'm your sister. I remember. Is Evan here? That's his business. Marissa is beside herself. I'm sorry to hear that. She told him to leave in the heat of an argument. She didn't mean it. He took her seriously. People say things. Yes. You of all people should understand forgiveness. I understand it isn't the same as access. Susan shifted the baking dish to her other arm. What has Claire been telling you? She asked. This isn't about Claire. Everything became about Claire the minute Evan went running to her. A floorboard creaked behind me. Susan saw my expression and looked over my shoulder. Evan stepped into the hall wearing sweatpants and a work shirt buttoned wrong. Hi, Aunt Susan. Her face softened instantly. Oh, honey. He flinched. She moved toward the doorway. I did not move aside. Cal. He hasn't invited you in. Evan looked at me, surprised. It's okay, he said. I stepped back. Susan entered with the confidence of someone retaking a building. She placed the baking dish on my dining table beside the table saw. Why is that in here? She asked. It likes breakfast. She ignored me and reached for Evan. He allowed a brief hug, keeping his injured side away. You look exhausted, she said. Marissa said you barely slept. She doesn't know how I've slept. She knows you. Evan sat. Susan took the chair beside him. I'm not here to judge, she said. No? Of course not. Marriage is difficult. Walter and I had years when I wanted to throw him through a window. You never did, I said. There were screens. Evan looked down. Susan touched his wrist. Marissa knows she made mistakes, but shutting her out is cruel, Evan. I asked for space. She's alone in that house. I was alone in it too. Susan's hand withdrew. You had a fight, she said. I'm not discussing it. Then how can we understand? You don't need to. You can't ask the family to take your side without facts. I didn't ask anyone to take my side. Your father is making it sound like my father didn't make me leave. Susan glanced at me. Evan's voice remained even. Claire didn't make me leave. Brian didn't make me leave. Marissa told me the price of coming home was cutting them off. I said no. She was frightened. So was I. The room became still. Susan's eyes moved to his split lip. Did she hit you? Evan's jaw tightened. I'm not giving you a detail you can debate. I wouldn't debate it. You're already debating the parts you know? Susan sat back. I watched her prepare 3 responses and reject each one. Finally, she stood. I only wanted to help. I know, Evan said. The resemblance between us was not flattering. At the door, Susan turned to me. You could have told me. He asked me not to. I'm family. So is he. She left the baking dish. It contained an egg casserole with peppers, cheese, and enough ham to feed a road crew. Evan and I ate it for lunch. Afterward, he stood at the sink, rinsing his plate. You enjoyed that, he said. No, you did a little. I enjoyed the part where Susan had no answer. It was unfamiliar. He dried his hands. Did I sound like you? No. Good. You sounded like Claire. He leaned against the counter. I should call her. Yes. You weren't supposed to agree that fast. I'm sorry. No, you're not. No. He called from the kitchen and put the phone on speaker only after asking her. Claire answered. What happened? Nothing happened. Then why are you calling? To apologize. She was quiet. Evan looked at me. I started to leave, but he shook his head. I let Marissa make you the enemy because it was easier than admitting you were right, he said. Claire's breath came through the speaker. I wasn't right about everything, she said. You'll recover. I might. I'm not going back. The words surprised all 3 of us. Claire asked, Are you sure? No. That's not what I'm not going back means. It means I'm not waiting to feel sure. I sat down. I need to get my things, he said. Not today, but soon. Do you want me there? Claire asked. Yes. He looked at me. And Dad. Claire was quiet again. All right, she said. Evan ended the call. Then he turned his phone off, not because anyone told him to, and carried it into the spare room. A few minutes later, Marissa's red SUV stopped across the street. She did not get out. This time, Evan stood beside me at the window and watched her wait. She wants us to see her, Evan said. I think she wants you to see her. She parked in your line of sight. My curtains aren't subtle. The SUV's engine remained on. White exhaust gathered behind it and drifted along the curb. Evan pressed 2 fingers against the window glass. I should go talk to her. All right, that's it. What else do you want? You could say it's a bad idea. Is it? I don't know. Then I don't either. He dropped his hand. You're infuriating. So I've heard. The driver's door opened. Marissa stepped out without a coat, still wearing the navy dress she wore to work. She crossed the street quickly, arms folded against the cold. I opened the front door before she reached the porch. Her eyes went straight to Evan. I didn't know if you'd answer, she said. My phone's off. I know. He stiffened. I tried calling, she added. That's how I know. Oh. The 3 of us stood in the doorway, letting cold air into the house. Can I come in? She asked. Evan looked at me. It's up to you, I said. Marissa's mouth tightened. It's his father's house, Evan. Of course it's up to him. You can come in, he said. She entered and glanced around. Her gaze stopped on Susan's empty baking dish beside the table saw. You had company. Aunt Susan came by, Evan said. Marissa looked at me. You told her he was here? She found out when he walked into the room. I called Susan because I was terrified. I know, Evan said. Marissa turned toward him. Can we talk privately? He considered it. No. The answer seemed to hurt her physically. You don't trust me, she said. I don't trust myself when we're alone. Her face lost color. I moved toward the kitchen. I can give you space without leaving. Stay, Evan said. Marissa laughed softly. This is what I was afraid of. What? You and your father on one side of the room. There aren't sides. There are always sides. People who say there aren't have already won. She sat at the dining table. Evan took the chair across from her. I remained near the kitchen doorway. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Marissa took a folded paper from her purse and placed it on the table. My counselor asked me to write down what I was feeling when I told you to stop seeing Claire. Evan did not touch the paper. What were you feeling? He asked. Like everybody had decided I was dangerous. Like one mistake meant I'd lost the right to be your wife. It wasn't one mistake. I know. You said Claire wanted to destroy us before you ever pushed me. I know. You came to her apartment and told her to stay away from me. I know. And after I came back, you told me the only way you could feel safe was if I stopped seeing her. Marissa wiped beneath one eye. I used the language wrong, she said. What language? The counselor talked about boundaries. I thought a boundary was asking for what I needed. A boundary isn't deciding who I'm allowed to speak to. I know that now. You learned that between yesterday and today? She called me after I left a message. Your counselor? Yes. What did you tell her? That you walked out. Did you tell her why? Yes. Evan looked at the folded paper. Did you tell her you pushed me? Marissa stared at him. Yes. Did you tell her about the mug? Her eyes moved to me, then back. Yes. That answer mattered. I saw it matter. Evan sat back. Marissa leaned forward. I am trying so hard not to make this about whether you come home. I know that makes it worse. But the house feels wrong without you. Lester sits by the garage door every night. I keep hearing your truck and then remembering it isn't there. Don't use the cat, Evan said. I'm not using him. You sent Dad a picture of Lester lying on me. I was trying to show him you were okay. I wasn't okay. I thought we were getting there. So did I. Her face crumpled again. Evan started to reach across the table, then stopped himself. Marissa saw. I won't ask you to come home tonight, she said, or tomorrow. Keep talking to Claire. See your father whenever you want. I was wrong. He looked at her with such open longing that I felt ashamed to be in the room. What are you asking? He said. For us not to be over. I don't know if we are. Then say we aren't. That would be promising something I don't know. I can wait. Evan looked down. Marissa took a breath and tried again. I can wait if I know you're still trying. There. That's the problem. What? There's always a test. If I don't say the right thing, it proves I never loved you. If I need time without promising the ending, I'm abandoning you. I'm asking for hope. You're asking me to keep you calm. I'm asking my husband not to disappear. You told me to leave. I was angry. I know. Marissa's eyes hardened. Your father was angry last night too. Did he throw you out? Evan glanced at me. No. Of course not. What does that mean? It means he knows exactly how to behave now. He gets to be patient because I'm the one who failed. Marissa. He has been waiting for you to need him again. I spoke before I intended to. You said that on the porch, because it's true. Maybe. Both of them looked at me. Marissa seemed thrown by the answer. I like being useful, I said. I'm not proud of how much. That doesn't make Evan's choices mine. You fed his fear. I told him you could change. She blinked. Evan looked at me too. I told him he might count promises as proof, I added. There it is, Marissa said. The little warning label. He asked what I thought. And you never think maybe you're the reason he doesn't know what he thinks. All the time. The anger left her face, replaced by confusion. I sat in the chair at the end of the table. I helped raise a man who waits for the loudest person to tell him what peace should look like, I said. I'm trying not to stay the quiet version of that person. Evan's eyes dropped. Marissa folded the paper smaller. I hate this house, she said. The sentence was so sudden that neither of us answered. I used to love it, she continued. Evan would come here to help you change a faucet, and 4 hours later, you'd both be eating sandwiches in the garage. I'd call, and he'd sound happy in a way he hadn't sounded all week. That wasn't about you, I said. It felt like it was. I know. No, you don't. You have never walked into a room and wondered whether people would be relieved if you vanished. Claire's voice came back to me. I made my own appointments and changed my own tires. I may have missed it when people did, I said. Marissa looked toward the spare room hallway. Are my things still in the same places? Evan asked. The question changed everything. She held the folded paper tightly. Yes. I'm coming Saturday to get some of them. Some? Clothes, my computer, the records in the basement, Grandma's tin. The tin is in the suitcase. I know. You're taking the suitcase? Yes. Her chin began to tremble. Does that mean you've decided? It means I need my things. You could ask me to pack them. I don't want you to. Why? Because I want to choose what leaves. The words sat between them. Marissa stood, knocking her chair backward. I caught it before it fell. Saturday is too soon, she said. Why? Because I need time. I've needed time for years. You never said that. I didn't know how. That isn't my fault. No, it isn't all your fault. She flinched anyway. 10 o'clock, Evan said. Claire and Dad will come. You're bringing Claire into my house? She was already in our marriage, according to you. That's cruel. It was. He did not apologize. Marissa picked up her purse and left the folded paper on the table. At the door, she turned to me. You'll get tired of this. He knows that, even if he won't say it. Evan stood behind me. Go home, he said. Marissa looked at him for a long second, then walked to her SUV. He closed the door. I expected him to look relieved. Instead, he slid down the wall and sat on the floor. I lowered myself beside him. My knees complained loudly enough to qualify as a separate conversation. Don't say anything, he said. I'm concentrating on getting back up. He laughed, then covered his face. I stayed there while he cried. Claire came after work carrying no broth. Evan told her about Saturday. She listened without interrupting, which for Claire counted as a physical feat. What do you want me to do? She asked. Be there, quietly. Can you? No, but I can try. He nodded. Are you taking everything? She asked. I don't know. Do you have somewhere else to live? I'm sitting in it. They both looked at me. The room remains available, I said. I don't want to stay here forever. You mentioned that. I mean it. I believed you the first time. Claire sat beside him on the couch. Their shoulders almost touched. What about work? She asked. I'm back. What about the truck? Here. What about Lester? Evan's face tightened. Marissa should keep him. Because she sent a picture? Because he's her cat too, and she needs something in that house that loves her. Claire looked ready to object. Then she nodded. Later, while Evan showered, she joined me at the kitchen sink. You were right, she said. I nearly dropped a plate. Should I record this? Don't ruin it. About what? Not ordering him to stay. I dried the plate carefully. You were right too, I said. That sentence sounds healthier when I say it. I made you pay for being harder to ignore. She looked at me. I thought because you could name what was wrong, you knew what to do with it, I said. I thought Evan needed protection and you needed correction. Claire stared into the sink. I did want to be right, she said. At that dinner. Afterward, too. Sometimes I wanted Marissa to get worse, so everybody would finally admit I wasn't difficult. That must be hard to say. It tastes terrible. So does your broth? She elbowed me. The movement was small, but it was the first time my daughter had touched me in 2 years without anger in it. Saturday morning, Evan changed shirts 3 times. At 9:45, Claire parked behind his truck. She wore jeans and heavy boots. I had a sudden memory of her at 15, dressed for a concert she never attended. No fighting, Evan said when she entered. I know. No answering questions for me. I know. No comments about the house. What kind of comments? Any. What if she painted the kitchen orange? Especially then. We took my car because Evan said arriving together would be simpler. Nobody argued about what simpler meant. Marissa's SUV was in the driveway when we reached the house. The curtains were open. The front door remained closed. Evan sat in the passenger seat with both hands on his knees. You can change your mind, Claire said from the back. I know. You can also go in alone. I know. I turned off the engine. Evan looked at the house where he had lived for 11 years. Then he opened the door. Marissa let us in without speaking. The blue suitcase stood upright in the center of the living room, packed and waiting. Evan stopped just inside the door. Marissa had placed the suitcase on the rug between the couch and coffee table. The scorch mark faced upward. Its handle was extended, as if it had arrived on its own and was waiting for a ride. I said I wanted to pack, Evan said. I know. Then why is that packed? I thought I could make one thing easier. You thought wrong. Marissa looked at Claire. Does she need to be in here? Yes, Evan said. I was asking you, and I answered. Claire took off her coat and folded it over one arm. I can wait in another room if that's what Evan wants. I don't. Marissa's jaw tightened. Of course you don't. No comments, Evan said to Claire. I didn't make one. You made it with your eyebrows. I can't control those. You've had 40 years. Marissa stared at them. I could see the moment their familiar irritation hurt her, more than open hostility would have. Lester came trotting out of the hallway. He stopped when he saw 3 visitors, then walked directly to me and rubbed his face against my leg. "Traitor!" Marissa said. The cat ignored her. Evan crouched slowly. He still protected his left side when he moved, though the worst of the bruise had begun to fade. "Hey, buddy?" Lester pressed his head beneath Evan's hand and began purring loudly. Marissa looked toward the kitchen. "I put your work clothes in the case," she said, "and the things you packed before." Evan stood and lowered the handle. "I'm going to empty it." "Why?" "Because I want to decide what goes in. It's all yours." "That's not the point." He unzipped the suitcase and opened it on the rug. Everything had been arranged neatly. Work shirts on one side, jeans on the other. His shaving supplies were sealed in a plastic bag. The ugly green sweater had been folded into a square. The baseball glove rested on top of the recipe tin, and the photograph of Evan and Claire was tucked between 2 shirts so the glass would not break. Marissa had packed carefully. That made what followed harder, not easier. Evan lifted the photograph first. For a moment, he and Claire looked at the younger versions of themselves. In the picture, Claire had one arm around his neck and was pulling him sideways while he tried to keep his drink from spilling. "I hate that photograph," Claire said. "No comments," Evan reminded her. "That was about me. You had that haircut on purpose. Our mother had just left your father." Marissa closed her eyes. Claire stopped. Evan placed the photograph on the coffee table. Then he removed the glove, the tin, the sweater, and every item of clothing. He laid them across the couch until the suitcase was empty. "You don't have to perform this," Marissa said. "I'm not. You're unpacking in front of an audience. I'm undoing what you did. I was helping." "I know." She flinched at the phrase. We had all used it too many times. Evan carried the empty suitcase upstairs. Claire and I remained by the door. Marissa stood in the middle of the living room with the contents spread behind her. "Are you proud of this?" she asked Claire. "No. You've wanted him to leave me since that dinner. I wanted you to stop treating him badly. You called me a parasite. I shouldn't have." Marissa seemed unprepared for the admission. Claire kept her voice level. "I wanted everybody to see what I saw. Sometimes I cared more about being proven right than about what Evan needed. What does he need now? To answer that himself." Marissa laughed without humor. "You all learned the same speech." "No," I said. "We learned different versions of the same mistake." She turned on me. "Don't." "All right." That calm little voice makes me want to throw something. The room went still. Marissa looked toward the ceramic bowl on the side table. Then she pressed both hands over her mouth. "I didn't mean that," she said through her fingers. "I know," I said. "You think that makes it worse. I think you're angry. Stop naming me. All right?" Footsteps moved above us. A drawer opened, then another. Marissa lowered her hands. "He'll get tired of that," she said. "Of what?" "You letting every sentence die. He'll think it's peaceful at first. Then he'll realize there's nobody in there." I felt the old instinct to absorb the insult and move on. Instead, I said, "Sometimes I don't answer because I'm scared." She blinked. "I'm scared I'll say the wrong thing," I continued. "I'm scared anger will cost me the person I'm angry with. I'm scared if I stay useful enough, nobody will notice how little of me is actually in the room." Claire looked at me. Marissa's face softened despite herself. "So, you do understand," she said. "Yes." "Then help me." "I am." "How?" "By not turning your fear into Evan's job." The softness vanished. "You think that line came from a counselor?" "No, it sounds rehearsed. I've had a difficult week." She walked to the window. Outside, the neighborhood looked offensively normal. A man in a fluorescent jacket pushed a leaf blower along the opposite sidewalk. Nothing moved except one dry leaf circling his boots. "I don't know how to be in that house without him," she said. Nobody answered. She looked back at us. "That's honest." "Yes," I said. And I'm sorry. That's all? What else belongs to me?" Her eyes filled. Evan came downstairs carrying 2 cardboard boxes. He set them near the door. "What's in those?" Marissa asked. "Books, my laptop, some clothes." "You don't need the laptop. You have your work one. I want it. I use it for the printer. You can connect yours. I don't know how. I'll write it down." Her lips parted. Evan heard himself too. "No," he said. "I'm not going to write it down. The instructions are online. You always handled it." "I know." A small silence followed. Marissa rubbed her palms over her sleeves. "What else?" "Records from the basement. You haven't listened to those in years. I want them. The turntable is ours. I'm leaving it. You bought it. We bought it." She stared at him, as if fairness were another form of abandonment. "I'm getting the records," he said. "I'll come with you." "No, it's my basement, and I live here." "Do you?" The question slipped out. Marissa's face changed immediately. Evan looked down at the empty suitcase. "I did," he said. He went toward the basement door. Marissa stepped into his path. All four of us saw it at once. She froze. Evan stopped several feet away. "Move," he said. "I wasn't. Please move." Her arms hung at her sides. For a second, I thought she would refuse simply because we were watching. Then she stepped aside. Evan opened the basement door and disappeared down the stairs. Marissa sank onto a kitchen chair. Claire stayed where she was. I picked up one of the empty boxes by the door. "Put that down," Marissa said. "I did." She gave a short, broken laugh. "I hate that you listen now. I don't always. Only when it helps him leave. No. When someone asks me not to take over." She looked toward the basement. "I stood there Thursday because I wanted him to say it," she said. "Say what?" "That he was leaving me. He had packed a suitcase. That wasn't the same. It was to him. I thought if he had to look at me, he wouldn't be able to do it. The honesty was ugly and sad." "You were right," I said. Marissa's eyes rose to mine. "He couldn't get past you without touching you. So, he left the case. He could have asked me to move." "Would you have?" Her mouth tightened. From the basement came the scrape of cardboard over concrete. "I don't know," she whispered. Evan returned carrying a box of records. Dust marked the front of his shirt. He set the box beside the others, then went back down. On his third trip, he brought the recipe tin. "I packed that already," Marissa said. "I know." He placed it on the dining table and removed the lid. The index cards inside were yellowed and soft at the corners. My mother had written in blue ink. Her handwriting slanted so sharply each word seemed to be running downhill. Evan thumbed through them until he found one stained with tomato sauce. "You hated this recipe," he said. "I hated how the house smelled for 3 days. It smelled like garlic. It smelled like garlic in the curtains. You opened every window in January. We laughed about it. You laughed. I stopped making it." Marissa looked at the card. "I didn't know that mattered," she said. "Neither did I. That's why I put it in the case." He replaced the lid. Then he picked up the green sweater. "You bought me a new one because you hated this. It has a hole. My elbow made that hole. I know how holes work. I like it. You look ill when you wear it. I usually am ill when I wear it." Claire made a strangled sound that might have been a laugh. Evan looked at her, and she covered her mouth. He folded the sweater and put it into the empty suitcase. Next came the baseball glove. Marissa watched him turn it over. "You never play anymore," she said. "No." "Then why take it? Dad and I used it." "When you were young?" "And once in his backyard, when I was 33 and avoiding helping you choose bathroom tile. You told me you were working late." Evan winced. "I shouldn't have lied, but you did." "Yes." "Because you knew I'd be angry." "Yes." Marissa nodded as if he had finally admitted the fact she needed. Evan looked at the glove. "I was afraid you'd be angry," he said. "Then I lied, and you got angrier, and I used your anger to justify the next lie. I'm not pretending I was healthy in this marriage. So, why am I the only one being punished? I'm not punishing you. You took yourself away. What else could hurt me more? That doesn't make it punishment. It feels the same." "I know." He put the glove in the suitcase. Then he picked up the photograph. Claire shifted her weight. Marissa said, "You packed that after one phone call. I packed it because I wanted my sister back." "You had her." "No. I had 10 minutes on the phone after 2 years of pretending I didn't miss her. You told me she exhausted you." "She does." "Thank you," Claire said. "No comments," he told her. That was gratitude. He slid the photograph between the sweater and the side of the case. Marissa's eyes moved from Claire to Evan. "What about the key?" she asked. He touched his pocket. "I have it. Your father's key." "Yes." "You packed a key to his house before you told me you were leaving. I needed to know one door would open." The sentence broke something in the room. Marissa sat perfectly still. I looked away because her face was too private. Evan closed the suitcase halfway but did not zip it. "I'm taking a week of clothes," he said. "The rest can wait." "For what?" "Until I have an apartment." Her head lifted. "You're moving out." "Yes." "You said you didn't know if we were over." "I didn't. I know I can't live here." "That's the same thing." "No, it isn't. You keep correcting my words like your father." "He taught me exact language." "That's not all he taught you." "No." Evan looked at me. "He taught me to stay quiet until quiet became dishonest." I took the blow because it was true. "He also opened the door when I came back," Evan said. Marissa stood. "You want gratitude for that?" she asked me. "No." "Are you happy now?" "No." "You got your son. I had him before." "No, you didn't. None of us had him. That's the whole problem." Evan's face changed. Marissa saw it and began to cry. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm sorry. I don't know how to do this." He moved toward her. Claire's hand tightened around the coat she was holding, but she said nothing. Evan stopped an arm's length from Marissa. "I believe you," he said. "Then stay." "I can't. Just today." "That's how we keep losing years." She reached for him, then remembered and let her hand fall. Evan bent and zipped the suitcase. The sound traveled through the room. He extended the handle. Marissa stood between him and the front door, but this time she moved before he asked. Claire took one box. I took another, only after Evan nodded. At the porch, Lester wound around his ankles. Evan crouched and pressed his face into the cat's fur. "You keep her company," he whispered. Marissa began crying harder. Evan stood and carried the blue suitcase through the front door. Not behind the furnace, not in darkness, not while anybody blocked his way. He rolled it down the path toward my car, the scorched corner catching the morning light. Claire loaded the boxes into my trunk. I put the record collection on the floor behind the passenger seat, where it would not slide. Evan stood at the curb with one hand on the suitcase handle. Marissa remained in the doorway. Neither of them said goodbye. He put the suitcase in the trunk himself, arranging it beside the recipe tin. Then he closed the lid and got into the passenger seat. Claire climbed into the back. I started the engine. "Seatbelts," I said. Claire stared at the back of my head. "That's what you have?" "I'm driving." Evan pulled his belt across his chest. As we moved away, he watched the house through the side mirror until the corner blocked it. Nobody spoke for several streets. Then Claire leaned forward between the seats. "Do you want to get lunch?" "No," Evan said. "Okay. I mean, maybe later." "Okay. You don't have to agree with everything. I'm trying not to manage you. You sound like a hostage negotiator." Claire sat back. "Fine. Starve. That feels more natural." At my house, we carried the boxes into the spare room. Evan left the suitcase standing in the hall. He did not open it. Claire put the photograph on the dresser. "Where do you want the records?" I asked. "Garage for now. The temperature changes aren't good for vinyl." Evan looked at me. "Basement," I said, "or anywhere. The roof is also available." We took them downstairs. By the time we finished, Claire's hair had escaped its clip. My back hurt. And Evan looked as if he had stayed upright through determination alone. "Lie down," Claire said. He pointed at her. "That. Your face is gray." "He's always gray," I said. "Grayer," she said. I looked at Evan. "She stole that from Brian. You two can both leave." "It's my house," I said. "Then Claire can leave." She put on her coat without arguing. At the door, Evan hugged her. The movement surprised Claire so much her arms hung at her sides for a second, before closing around him. "Call me," she said. "I will, even if nothing happened. I know. And don't let Dad feed you oatmeal." "I'm standing here," I said. They ignored me. After Claire left, Evan walked to the spare room and shut the door. I made coffee. I repaired the pantry hinge again, though it was no longer loose. I considered organizing the garage, then recognized the impulse for what it was, and sat in the living room with my hands doing nothing. At dusk, Evan came out carrying the blue suitcase. "Where do you want this?" he asked. "Where do you?" "I don't want it in the room. The hall closet has space." He opened the closet and placed it behind the vacuum. For a moment, the scorched corner remained visible. Then he pushed the suitcase deeper into the dark and closed the door. His phone rang. Marissa. He let it ring. A message followed. "You forgot the charger for your laptop." Another came. I put it on the porch. "You can get it when I'm not home." Evan typed, "Thank you." That was all. He sat in the chair across from me. "I'm not relieved," he said. "I know. I thought I would be. You might be later. What if I'm not? Then you're not." He leaned his head back and closed his eyes. "I still love her. I know. I keep thinking about her standing in that house after we left. I know. You can say something else. I don't know anything else." He opened his eyes. "That may be the first honest thing you've ever said. It's in the top 10. The next morning, Evan made his own appointment to have his side examined. He did not tell Claire until afterward. The ribs were badly bruised but not broken, which he reported to us with the smugness of a man who believed an injury being less severe than it might have been made him medically wise. Claire brought over soup. "Soup," I said, looking into the pot. "You've advanced. There are objects in it. I see that." Evan ate 2 bowls and complained the entire time. He returned to work each morning. In the evenings, he sat at my dining table with apartment listings open on his laptop. The first few nights, he showed me every one. "This building has aluminum wiring," I said. "It says updated electrical. It says updated outlets. That can mean they changed the covers." He closed the listing. The next apartment had water stains near a bedroom window. The next was beside a bar whose online reviews praised the karaoke. "You don't want to live next to people singing Sweet Caroline until 1 in the morning," I said. "Nobody does." After a week, he stopped showing me. I discovered that fact when I saw an unfamiliar address written on the back of an envelope. "What's this?" I asked. "An apartment." "When are you seeing it?" "I already did. You went alone?" "Yes. How was it?" "Fine." "What year was the building constructed?" "I didn't carbon date it." "Did you check the windows?" "Yes." "Water pressure?" "Yes." "Electrical panel?" "Dad." "What?" "You don't have to inspect it." "I wasn't offering." "You were inhaling in the shape of an offer." I put the envelope down. "It's over a bakery," he said after a moment. "The kitchen is small. The bedroom faces an alley. The bathroom tile is ugly." "What kind of ugly?" "Orange." I thought of his warning to Claire. "Very ugly," I said. "I like it." "Then you should take it." He frowned. "You haven't seen it." "You like it?" "That's not enough." "It's your apartment." "It might be." He picked up the envelope. "I was expecting a fight," he said. "I can still give you one." "No?" "Then we've saved time." He signed the lease 2 days later. Marissa stopped calling every night. Her messages changed from pleading to angry, then became practical. "The electric bill is due. Do you want the frame print from the upstairs hall? Lester has a vet appointment Tuesday." Once, close to midnight, she wrote, "Your father got what he wanted." Evan stared at the message for several minutes. Then he typed, "Dad wanted me safe. What I do next is mine." He showed it to me before sending. "You don't need my approval," I said. "I'm not asking." "What are you asking? Whether it's true?" I read it again. "Yes." "Even the second sentence?" "Especially that one." He sent it. Marissa did not respond until morning. "I know. I'm trying to learn that." Evan sat with the phone in his hand. "She's still going to counseling," he said. "Good. She wants me to go with her eventually." "Do you want to?" "Maybe once." I waited. "Not to move back," he added. "You don't have to explain that to me. I'm explaining it to myself." He did meet her at the counselor's office several weeks later. He came home afterward, loosened his tie, and stood in the kitchen eating peanut butter from the jar. "How was it?" I asked. "Terrible. Productive terrible or pointless terrible. Ask me next year." He put the jar away. She asked me if I wanted a divorce. "What did you say?" "That I wanted an apartment." Exact language. He smiled. Moving day arrived with freezing rain. Brian brought his delivery van and charged Evan 1 cup of gas station coffee. Claire arrived with packing tape, cleaning supplies, and strong opinions about where everything should go. I carried a box labeled kitchen into the bedroom. "That says kitchen," Claire said. "I'm expanding the concept. You're holding it upside down. It's dishes." "That's worse." Evan stood in the center of his new living room while the rest of us moved around him. For once, nobody asked him to choose between us. We were merely irritating in separate directions. The apartment smelled like bread from downstairs. The bathroom tile was aggressively orange. The windows opened without sticking, the water pressure was adequate, and the electrical panel had been replaced 3 years earlier. I learned all that without touching anything. Above the kitchen sink, one cabinet door hung lower than the other. I looked at it, then I looked away. Evan caught me. "You can fix that," he said. "Are you asking?" "Yes." Then, yes. He handed me a screwdriver. We worked on the hinge together. It took 4 minutes. When we finished, the door still sat slightly crooked. "Good enough?" Evan said. "It's not." "My cabinet." I put down the screwdriver. "Good enough." The blue suitcase was the last thing he carried upstairs. He did not hide it in the bedroom closet. He set it on top of a low bookcase in the living room, scorch mark facing the wall. Claire noticed but said nothing. We ate pizza from paper plates on the floor. Brian told the canoe story he had avoided at the wedding, which turned out to involve Evan losing one shoe, a thunderstorm, and an elderly couple who rescued them, despite Brian insisting they were between destinations. "Lost," Claire said. The word was lost. "We knew the river continued," Brian said. "All rivers continue." "Exactly." Evan laughed until he had to put down his pizza. I watched him look around the apartment, the boxes, the orange tile, the crooked cabinet, and saw grief move through his happiness without canceling it. That mattered. He did not become well because he left. He became free to be unwell without somebody using it to decide for him. Living alone was harder than he expected. He called me the first time the bathroom sink backed up, then fixed it before I arrived. He burned rice and set off the smoke alarm. He went 3 days without speaking to anyone outside work and admitted on the 4th that silence could become another kind of hiding. He and Marissa spoke once a week. Some conversations ended gently. Others sent him pacing around the block. He stopped reporting every detail to Claire and me, which made both of us nervous and was probably healthy. Marissa kept Lester. She sent Evan photographs without using them to ask him home. One showed the cat asleep inside the empty laundry basket. Evan laughed, saved it, and did not answer until the following day. Susan eventually retrieved her baking dish. She stood on my porch and said, "I may have overstepped. You drove over with a casserole." I said may. I handed her the dish. "Evan told me about the mug," she said. "That was his choice. He should have said something sooner. He tried." Susan looked at me. I let the sentence remain where it landed. "I'm sorry," she said. I did not ask whether she meant for him or for me. Exact language was useful, but sometimes people needed room to approach the truth badly. Claire began coming by on Sundays. Not every Sunday. She corrected me the first time I called it a tradition. "It's lunch," she said. "Recurring lunch. Don't make it a thing." I did not. Sometimes she stayed an hour. Sometimes she remained until dark, reading at one end of the couch while I watched television at the other. We talked about Daniel, the relationship I had missed, and the job she was considering leaving. I tried not to fix either. I failed often enough to keep things recognizable. One evening, she wore the old concert shirt again. "I'm sorry I didn't let you go," I said. She looked down at it. "I bought this at the reunion tour." "So, I'm apologizing for nothing?" "No. You're just 23 years late. Was the show good? The original singer can't hit the high notes. Then I saved you from disappointment." She threw a cushion at me. By the time the weather softened, Evan no longer referred to my spare room as his room. He had left nothing in it except one work shirt in the closet and the gray sock I had found beneath the dresser. I put the sock in a drawer. Possibilities needed somewhere to go. His first dinner invitation arrived by text. Friday, 6. "You and Claire. I'm cooking Grandma's recipe." I wrote, "Which one?" He answered, "Garlic in the curtains." Claire arrived at my house at 5:30, although Evan lived 8 minutes away. "I thought we could go together," she said. "Is that a tradition? Get in the car." The smell reached us halfway up his stairs. Evan opened the door wearing the green sweater. "You look ill," I said. "I'm cooking." The apartment was warm and crowded with garlic. A pot simmered on the stove. My mother's recipe card rested against the tin, protected by a clear plastic sleeve Evan had bought, because the tomato stain was beginning to weaken the paper. Claire looked into the pot. "Is it supposed to be that color?" "No comments," he said. "This is concern. Sit down." He had found a small round table and 3 mismatched chairs. We ate too much. The sauce was thicker than my mother's and needed salt, but I did not say so until Evan asked. He added salt to his own bowl and declared mine a personal failure. After dinner, Claire washed dishes while Evan and I carried plates to the sink. No one assigned the work. No one kept score. I noticed the suitcase on top of the bookcase. He had turned it around. The scorched corner faced the room now. You know, I said, most people use shelves for decoration. It is decoration. It's burned luggage. It has character. That's what the flooring customer said. He looked at the suitcase. For a moment, the humor left his face. I keep thinking I should put it away, he said. Why don't you? Because I spent so long hiding it? Claire turned off the faucet. Evan wiped his hands on a dish towel. I don't keep it ready because I'm planning to run, he said. I keep it where I can see it because I know I'm allowed to leave. He looked at me, then Claire. Any place, he said, where loving somebody requires me to disappear. The room went quiet. Not the old kind of quiet. Nobody was waiting for the loudest person to tell us what it meant. Claire picked up the recipe tin and set it on the shelf beside the suitcase. Then Evan opened the window and the smell of garlic drifted into the night.